of thought. Open your mind.
Lady Cat, Lady Class, Lady Kendra, the Unicorn 4.
Open your mind.
You know. Thursday.
Open your mind.
Lady Class, Lady Kendra, Lady Cat, Lady. The Unicorn 4.
Open your mind. Open your mind. Open your mind. Open your mind.
Peace, folks, and welcome back to another edition of the Prophet of Thought series right here on the old T.L.O.T YouTube page. And my damn mic's messing up. Tonight, y'all know tonight is that night that we always look forward to, Thursday night, because Thursday nights are the nights that we are joined by the Unicorn 4 live and direct, dropping so many jewels. I can't wait for these nights. And tonight's gonna be good. Well, the last couple of weeks, y'all gotta admit, it's been kind of lit on old TPOT the last couple of weeks. Because last week was good too. Hey, Lady Ming, I see you down there.
Hello, sir. How are you?
What's going on?
Nothing too much.
The last couple of weeks been pretty good on the old TPOT YouTube page. Y'all probably should have been here last night, because last night X was going ham last night. Boy, I was just went off last night. But anyway, y'all can check the archives for that. Lady Kendra, I see you down there. So tonight, as y'all can see, we will be discussing, like the title says, the intelligence of Black society. So if you're feeling generous, you might want to, hold on, let me get my link up, just in case y'all feeling generous, because sometimes y'all do feel generous. Hey, Lady Katz, I see you down there.
Hello.
Hey, what's going on, lady?
Nothing much. How are y'all?
Good.
Doing good, hon. How are you?
I'm fine.
That's
And let me just put my disclaimer out there for y'all folks. Tonight will not be a night. Oh, hold up. Let me do it the right way. The following broadcast may not be suitable for young viewers. Parental discretion is advised. Let me just put that out there. All right. Let me just put that out there, because tonight we're going to be talking about the intelligence of Black society. Hey, Lady Classic, I see you down there.
Good evening, sir.
What's going on, lady? We're going to be talking about the intelligence of Black society. And oftentimes, if you watch the Oh, snap. They gave me a new Streamlabs board. Wow. That's nice. That is quite nice. Anyway, we often see a lot of crazy stuff in Black society. And often we have a tendency to pathologize about it. We have a tendency to make excuses for it. We blame everything from white supremacy to the white power structure. We blame the educational system. We blame all this shit for why some of us act so damn crazy and stupid and ludicrous and out of our damn minds. But at some point, we as Black people, we have to take some damn responsibilities for ourselves. I mean, we have to do it. I mean, we have to call crazy shit to the carpet. We have to call out brothers who just do blatantly ill-advised dumb shit. And we must call out sisters who do the same shit. If we want to place blame often, I don't have a problem with placing blame, but we need to be placing blame where the problem lies, not outside of the problem where, we can kind of dodge away from our own responsibility or have a particular group of people dodge away from their own responsibility, from their own actions. We have to stop doing that. And oftentimes when we as Black people, when we talk about these things, people are always like, oh, that's coon talk, that's sample talk, that's this talk, that's that talk, but that's bullshit. And me, I'm a true believer, and this is something I've been saying for a couple weeks. I believe reality is what's going to heal Black folks. I can't say that shit enough. Reality is going to heal Black folks, not pathology, not knowledge of history, not the constant hammering of white supremacy, not fantasy, not none of that shit. Not wearing red, black, and green every day, not studying Kemet, not going to the ancient period. No, none of that shit is healing Black folks. Reality is going to heal Black folks. And I feel like the first reality that we have to accept is that many of us in our ranks, many of us just do crazy shit, ill-advised shit. I don't know why some of us do it, but damn it, we do it. And we can't pretend like it doesn't exist. We can't say, oh, it doesn't exist because of white supremacy or some shit like that. No. We have to call it what it is. And we also have to bring forth the truth about it, because, see, if we totally ignore some of the bullshit within Black society, we're part of the goddamn problem, because we're pretending that this shit don't exist. We're pretending that it's not there. All right, we're covering our eyes to it because they're Black. No, we can't do that anymore. We've done that long enough. We have to stop it. So let me start right here with the ladies of thought, the Unicorn 4. Let me ask you ladies this. What do you believe? Because I know you ladies are in media. You're on a lot of people's platforms, not just mine. You are very, very bright women. You ladies are some of the brightest women that I've had the pleasure to be around. All of you are very, very smart and very, very aware of what's going on in the world and in media. So let me ask you, What do you believe is the reason behind some of the crazy stuff we see? And we can start with media. I mean, we don't have to start with what's going on in our neighborhoods and in our families. We'll get to that shit later. But just media itself, the shit we see on Facebook and YouTube and the crazy shit that people do, men and women. What do you ladies believe is behind it?
I think a lot of it has to do with attention being the new currency, and because a lot of people, well, and a lot of Black people don't get attention when they're younger. They do whatever they can for attention in social media, and sometimes I think they're just doing it just to distract people, because you'll have, like, say a celebrity tweet something out, and it might be something really, really stupid, but people will just talk about it for weeks and weeks and weeks, and it's like, okay, I could understand you pointing out how this person could be wrong, but why keep talking about it for like a month? So I think some of it is attention. I think some of it is people trying to distract the masses from whatever's going on in the world. I think it's like those two main things.
I agree. I agree. Next.
So this is my opinion. I mean, I agree with Kat, certainly. I think I would just add the fact that suddenly in the 21st century, with this whole advent of technology and the World Wide Web, what was happening is a lot of people were doing even like regular things. It's not like what they were doing was overly special. And as a result, they were becoming famous. They were getting their, more than 15 minutes of fame. In some cases, it was turning into reality TV shows and actual money, actual clout, changing your whole life from literally doing nothing or becoming a viral meme, from raising the bar in some type of insane way, that, everyone wants to watch you. So I think that there is, on top of everything that Kat said, I think that there's this added thing where everyone's trying to raise the bar and go viral and get the eyes on them, not just for attention, but because suddenly going viral, whether it's positive or negative, can actually change your world the way it used to be that, being able to be a basketball star would change your world, or, having really great musical talent would change your world. Nowadays, you can shake your ass in just the right way and just the right skirt, and then the most embarrassing thing happens. You can become famous from that. You can be on the talk shows and, get some money.
TV show.
Exactly, right? So you see that all the time. Even they would be full of, like, that Cash Me Outside girl. Doesn't take much these days. You just have to have that right moment at the right time. So I think that there's a lot of people who are trying to cash in on that and hoping to God that one day they're going to hit it.
And I'm gonna keep in line with what, just build off of what Katz and Ruby just said and add another layer to it. The internet is a great thing. When it's being used for good is great, but when it's being used for evil, social media and all that is not. I feel, and I just had this conversation today with someone else, but I feel that we personally are too connected. I think that what we're seeing is the negative impacts of the internet and the overconnectedness. And what I mean by that is this, for instance, this is going to be a left example, extreme, but just follow me in principle. Let's say I wanted to commit suicide, right? I'm a kid, a teenager, whatever, and I'm having a rough time and I'm thinking about suicide. Well, before the internet, now, granted, you will have some people that probably do commit suicide, but a lot of people look around them. They're the only person that kind of feels that way. They're looking around them. They're looking at their support system, their circle of influence. They see that nobody else is going through this. They see people coming out of it. Their village, their community is raising them. Now, if I wanted to commit suicide, all I have to do is get on the internet and I could find a whole bunch of other people that want to commit suicide too. And now I found some crazies to feed into my crazy. And next thing you know, I'm dead. And I feel like, that is an extreme example, but the reality of it is that I can't tell you anything when you have on the internet millions of people reinforcing your bullshit. No longer is the community or your village being your immediate circle of influence, your family, your extended family, friends, so on and so forth. It's the whole wide world. You're building these internet communities that are actually hindrances more so than helpmates. And so that's just add that layer to it too.
Yeah. If I could just add to that really quickly and say, the it's like one of those double-edged sword things, because if you were feeling depressed and like you wanted to kill yourself and no one in the world felt like you, you'd walk around and, hey, guess what? No one in the world felt like you around you. And then the internet came out and, hey, you can find support groups of people who feel like you, and you guys can be, suddenly you don't feel alone in the world. Suddenly it's not so dark and you guys can help each other get through things, and someone who's already been through it can help you through it. And so it could be this positive thing. And so it's like on one side, you don't want to shut that kind of stuff down because it can be positive. But, and there's clear evidence that sometimes it can be a really, really negative force. And even just, I can't go viral any other way. No one really cares about me. I'll never get those clicks anyway. But hey, you know how I can? I can do it by committing suicide on Facebook Live while everyone watches me.
Yep, that's the next level. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Like, oh.
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I enjoy the internet. I'm a moderate social media user. I see the benefits in it and everything else, but I'm not an advocate for it. I'm a reader, so when you have people aren't reading like they used to anymore. People aren't writing like they used to anymore because of social media. I mean, it's just like we are raising a society of illiterate people dependent upon somebody else doing it for you, i.e. the internet. Let me click a button in Google, I got it. Gone are the days of going to the library, smelling a book when you open it up. Like, those things are gone, and those are the things that I miss. I miss the village. I miss the community. I miss all of that. I think that's what's hurting and hindering us, is that as a Black society, we ain't ready for that. We need to be loving on each other in a more humane way, person to person, skin to skin. We don't need the internet.
Well, exactly. And they're starting to do studies on this, because there's that increased too much connectedness or connectivity without any form of intimacy. And so the more connected we get online, the less connected we get in real life. And in personal, intimate relationships, whereby you will see 6 people sitting inside of a room. They're all friends. They all got together so they could sit on their phones and talk to other people who aren't really there. And to the point where social relationships are being so damaged on that side. And then on the other side, you have this thing where kindergartners aren't allowed to call their best friends anymore, because it hurts other people's feelings, because those people feel unincluded. And then to break up best friendships, what they're doing is they are shifting kids out of, so if these 2 kids are close friends and they've all been in the same class for a couple of years, they'll shift them out into a bunch of different classes. So that way you have to meet new people. And what they're hoping that does somehow is make everybody in the 4th grade across all 10 classes friends. But what it does instead is it never teaches people how to actually form intimate bonds that can stand the test of time and figure out what they like and they don't like in friendships, and et cetera, et cetera. And so again, the only thing that these kids have for validation and for a sense of connectedness that stands the test of time is the internet, because something as basic as school, where you made those long-lasting friendships that lasted you from grade 1 to the end of high school or whatever, they are intentionally breaking those things up and telling you you're not allowed to have best friends from as early as 4 or 5 years old. So, I mean, all around, whether it's media, of course, but then you have these idiot institutions that are making these ridiculous social justice warrior type decisions that are destroying any further hope of community that we could have actually within the community.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, Lady Kendra, we can hear you.
Okay. I agree with the ladies, but if the question is about why we act a fool more often than not, I think it is because we lack what other people have, and that is a culture. See, a culture doesn't just give you something to celebrate or a dance to do or specific clothes to wear. A culture is something that structures the community, and it provides a floor for what is unacceptable. And it also provides an expectation for what is acceptable. And when you don't have that type of structure, have never been introduced to it, and you don't really know what it is, as a group, collectively, you act out of bounds. You act on any whim that comes to you, any fad or wave, you jump on it without any accountability towards the community. Now, you can find anybody of any cultural background acting stupid online, but I'm not really talking about individuals so much as I'm talking about the collective. Because when you think about a lot of East Asian communities or cultures, they teach a lot about honor, the honor of your family, and shame, and not to shame them with different sorts of behavior. So we created a floor of what is unacceptable. Now, we can argue about the details of how rational it is, but the point is that it created a floor. So you were expected, if you came from a Japanese background per se, to act a certain way in public, to act a certain way around other people, to act a certain way around your family, to treat people and speak to people in a certain type of way, and to conduct yourself in a way that did not disgrace yourself nor your family or whatever group you belong to, whether that is your the company you work for or whomever you represent. Black people in America lack this. Since we've been in America, we have never truly had it. Whatever we had was taken and we have not regained it. The attempt to assimilate into the dominant society's culture has not really worked for us. So that's one aspect why I think we act the way we do in such large numbers.
Well, of course, I agree with all of you ladies, and I'll just add this. I believe that, and Brother Cerulean Gray said this to me one night. He said that a lot of our people believe it's still party time. A lot of us live in fantasy and shit. The reality isn't a word, it's a 4-letter word. And I believe that a lot of us don't really take life that seriously. When you're a person that doesn't take life seriously, you have a tendency to not be serious about how you live it. Prime example, if you're a person who doesn't care about how your family is viewed, you're more apt to go out there to do some shit that will embarrass your family. If you're a person who doesn't think that using your mind to do some critical thinking before you act, you're more likely to jump out and do knee-jerk shit that'll get you in trouble, ruin your life, ruin other people's lives, ruin your kids' life, because I was always taught that as a young child, I was always taught that behind every person stands other people. So especially if you're an adult, you're an adult, you have a family, you have children, you have all that kind of stuff going on in your life. If you're doing something really outrageous, doing something really ridiculous, where it's going to cause harm to not only you, your children, your wife, your husband, your mom, your dad, that kind of shit, you're talking about a domino effect. It's sort of like getting mad at someone. If a guy gets mad at a woman and this woman lives in the house with her mom and her aunt and her kids and her nieces and nephews, he goes there and he burns the house down to get back at the woman that he's angry with, that he feels hurt by or betrayed by. But at the same time, not only is he putting her out of a house and putting her in danger, he's putting her mom in danger, her kids in danger, her nieces and nephews in danger, because he's going after this one person. So it's sort of like that with a lot of us. A lot of us have a tendency to just see things right here and there. I watch a lot of the shit that I see because, you know, I'm on media. You know, I do a lot of media shit because, you know, I'm a type person. I watch very little television. So when I am sitting down at night, I'm sitting right in front of these damn screens here. And I see a lot of shit. I mean, I see a lot of crazy shit. I see people doing a lot of stupid, ill-advised stuff that you look at it and you're like, what is this person thinking? What is this person thinking? Stuff that's inconceivable to you, but it's conceivable to that person, obviously, because they're doing it. To them, it's conceivable. So if we as a people in Black society, if we don't bring these people to task and call these people out, I'll say again, I believe we are kind of part of the problem. What do you ladies think about that? Should we be calling these people out more who do shit that they've done things that make us look bad? They make us look bad. I've talked about this before. I did a stream and I called it Negrology. And I said, oftentimes when I walk into a store or restaurant or wherever I go, and people are watching me, you know, they're going to watch me anyway. I mean, I'm a 6'2" Black man. I weigh about 230 pounds. I mean, I'm not a little Black man. I'm a pretty good sized Black man. So when I walk into a store, people are watching me, you know, making sure I'm not there to steal. You know, they don't know that I own a business. You know, they don't know that I have money and a checkbook and a bank account. They just see this 6'2" Black man walking in there with greasy overalls on. So they're watching me, obviously. But I often say I don't get too mad at it because they're not just watching me because of me. They don't know me. They're watching me because of what they've seen before. They've been robbed before. People stole shit out of there before. And a lot of those people probably looked like me. So I don't get too mad at it. Of course, it bothers me, but I know it's not really me. It's the Negroes who came before me that have made it look bad for me. They've made it bad for me. So let me ask you ladies this. Do you ladies believe that we should be bringing more of our people to task for the dumb shit they do?
I think we can call them out, but more importantly, we need to figure out a way to really hold these people accountable, because you could talk their ear off all day, but if you don't have any way of, like, you know, making them really feel that what they did was wrong, then it's like, what's the point? Because it's kind of like when a mother, you know, tells her child, don't be disrespectful, and the child's still being disrespectful, and it's like, well, what are you gonna do? And, you know, the mother just sits there. I mean, don't do anything if you don't have a way to enforce that code. Because I hear a lot of people often say Black people need a code of conduct, but I'm like, okay, so we have a code, but how would we really punish people who go against the group? So I think we would also need a way to enforce certain things to make sure that Black people don't step out of line and do things that would be detrimental to the whole group.
Yeah. To build on that, of course, I think we should tell them. I mean, I'm the type of person in everyday life, race has nothing to do with it. If I see some sort of injustice, infraction, impoliteness, anything of that nature, I'm known to tell somebody about themselves. I'm just that type of person. Um, so I know for a fact that I would do that, and I agree it should be done. But this is the problem. Building off of Kat's example of the young lady with the kid, and she tell the kid stop and then don't do nothing about it. But then if that same young lady then turns around and tries to tell somebody else outside of her family, maybe a coworker, a friend, in passing what to do, it's a joke. Because first, people aren't cleaning up their own homes. They're not getting their own shit together. They're not figuring out their own ideologies and paradigms. They're not solidified. They're not doing their own research. So we can't tell anybody anything if you haven't even gotten yourself thoroughly together in the first place. It's a lot of false flagging out here and phony kicking it, and people acting like they know something because they know the buzzwords, or they've went one level deep, or they've listened to a gazillion videos from somebody whose references they didn't even check. Therein lies the problem. I can't take you seriously when you're a hot ass mess. So I think the first course of action before we talk about checking anybody, we need to individually check ourselves.
Agreed.
And I have to agree with Cats about the enforcement, or what is the repercussion for going against the group in an egregious way.
Off with your
When you talk
head.
about, yeah, when you talk about other cultures, there were things like shunning from the family, getting cut out of the will. You can't join the family business. You're ostracized on some level in some way. That's usually how it goes, some form of that. And ostracism usually works because humans are a social creature. We like being included in the group, and we don't like the feeling of being not included in any part of the group. You know, we at least like the choice to be included in whatever part of the group makes us comfortable or one that we like. So when that's taken, then that tends to lead to a correction of behavior. And just like children, when you raise and rear children and you're trying to teach them how to be, the first thing that you do is you set a boundary for the child, and you make that child aware of the boundary, and you make the boundary very clear. As a community, we don't really have any boundaries. There aren't any clear cut things that go against the group. Everyone thinks that they can do whatever, and no one should ever have any consequences about what they do. And they hide behind things, slogans like "I'm free thinking," "I don't care what other people think, I do what I want," those types of things. And to a certain degree, not caring what other people think is a plus. But there is also room for caring about what other people think. It just has to be in balance. It just has to be fitting for the situation.
Mm-hmm.
But since we don't control any mechanism of reward or punishment, even within ourselves, and we can't do it within ourselves, because again, we have no boundary, we have no culture, there's no clear cut thing. And so anybody can hide behind whatever justification they want, because let's face it, humans can rationalize everything and anything, no
Mm-hmm.
matter how stupid it is, no matter how egregious it is,
Mm-hmm.
no matter how mental it is, no matter how disgusting it is, we can hide behind, doing what we want. So, yeah, they should be called out. But again, if they don't stop, then what? And that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that, I think along the lines of the fact is that, yeah, when Ming talks about, well, internally we need to check ourselves. But I think that more so what it comes down to is how are we checking others' behavior, say when they make us look stupid, or they fit into some really negative stereotype, which of course reflects on us, when ultimately the group and the larger majority of the group agrees with them as far as their behavior, as far as what they frown upon. I mean, I'm so regularly called a white girl. I sound like a white girl. They think I'm a white girl, or that I think I'm white, based solely on the way that I sound, which I sound like everyone else where I live. It's an accent, or the way my vocabulary, I suppose, and the fact that I like to read, and was never really into music videos and pop culture. That makes me white. So the problem is that there is this common pervasive theme going on in our community that intelligence is for white people, or knowing how to act right in public these days is for white people or for some other race culture that isn't us. And so how do you, if I'm going to now say, well, I want to call out, I want to check people, they're already looking at me. We're in a group of 20 people, and they're already looking at me like I'm some outsider. I must be a coon. I must be all these things because I sound like this and I speak like this. And I don't think that the bullshit that they're doing is cute because it was on Housewives of Atlanta last night or whatever. So the problem is that somewhere along the line, and unfortunately, I got to say this, because our leaders are our musicians and our stars, people who are big on social media. Somewhere along the lines, those people need to change the narrative, and they need what it is that is quote unquote cool, what is fashionable these days. Not just wearing glasses because they look cool, but hey, you happen to actually have bad eyesight and you want to be able to read. You want to be able to see the board from far away. You're taking some extended education classes. Let the world, let these youngsters see that that's actually the new in thing. And then that way, when that narrative starts changing, then hey, we can start calling out bad behavior. But honestly, right now, people who look at that as bad behavior are in the minority. Right now, we have a lot of people that look at that behavior and go, "Man, I wish I could, pussy pop that way. Man, I wish I could blah 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 that way. I wish I could be that cool. Come show me, come teach me." That's what they're thinking. They're not thinking, wow, how embarrassing. I don't want to be associated with that. They're thinking, I want to join in on the fun, and they don't really care about the image and the way that that's going to reflect not just on themselves, but on everybody else.
Well, this is the thing. A lot of times we have a tendency to equate fucking ignorance with blackness. That's where I think we go wrong too. Anything that's fucking ignorant and backwards as hell, that's supposed to be black. Not pronouncing all your vowels and consonants is black. Wearing your clothes a certain way is black. Acting like a jackass is often black. I mean, that's where I think we kind of get lost. And I want to go back to something that Lady Kendra said. She said that, what do we do when somebody does something ridiculous? Like with other cultures, you get, your ass get erased off the will. You get kicked out the family. Damn it, you can't come to the family reunions and that kind of stuff. With black people, it's different because a lot of us, we don't have that kind of structure where we can, kick people. I mean, I've threatened my kids, say I'm gonna throw their ass out the wheel. I've threatened their asses. But, for the most part, black people, we don't have that kind of structure where we can kick them out of something culturally.
You know what, Brother X, if I can interject for a second. In addition to not having a structure, I also think part of the problem is that we are walking around, as Universal Jones said, with current traumatic stress disorder and doing everything out of fear. Yeah, we want to say, get your ass up out of here, but then it's like, but I'm sending them to the lion's den. So I'll just let my baby go ahead and stay home because he's a black man, and I know out in them streets, either the streets gonna get him or the police gonna get him. So I'll just keep him at home. So you're parenting out of fear. And it's something that I think that most people probably don't even know. They don't even realize that it's kind of in your genetic makeup to even feel that way, because it's passed down generation after generation after generation. Yeah, we got out of slavery and we had all this, that, and the third, but we were still operating and living out of fear. And then all the soft fear came to the North, and they made you and told us to be fearful, the North and stuff like that, even though things were a little different. But my point is that we are operating out of fear of the known and the unknown.
Mm-hmm. And I think it doesn't start later in life. And I talked about this last night. I think oftentimes as we are little, these things are ingrained in us. They are interjected into our psyche when we're little kids, when we're 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, before we're off to school, before we're, learning how to read and write and count. I think those things are kind of put into us then, in those formative years, because your most formative years is what, between birth and I think like 5 or 6 or 7. So those are the years where you are kind of being built, you're being molded like clay in those years. So if you are a person who's 20, 25, and your ass ignorant, that means your ass was ignorant when you was 4. That means you was ignorant when you were 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way up. It's not like you were a genius at 24, and then on your 25th birthday, you woke up and your ass was stupid. No, that means your ass had some degree of ignorance all the way. Okay. While you were small, while you were coming up with your parents. And I think a lot of times what happens is often these things are ignored by parents out of love. Yeah, he's stupid, but he's my baby. There's a lot of that shit. I mean, I know black folks don't like to hear it, but I'll say again, reality will heal black folks. And we see it and we ignore it. We ignore it. We ignore our old challenged ass daughter. We ignore our challenged ass son. We never think about, hey, this kid ain't developed. He's 7, but he's acting like a 4-year-old. He's 10. He's acting like a 5-year-old.
Let me ask you this, because when you say the reality statement, in that example you just used right there, he's 7 and acting like he's 4 and you're ignoring it. But if her reality is that others in her family didn't talk until they were 5, 6, or 7, and she doesn't even know there are resources out here or how to get them and all this other bullshit, her reality, she is in her reality. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's her reality, that he'll start talking on his own. And it's because they don't, a lot of times, like you said, it's a lot of not caring, but a lot of it is a lot of illiteracy out here. I mean, hell, even R. Kelly just came out and said that he can't read, write, or add.
Yeah, well, perception is reality. I mean, everybody has a different reality. Unfortunately, reality isn't universal amongst us. I mean, I look outside, I see a green field and forest. Other people look out there and see a damn soccer field. So so perception is reality. But what often happens, I believe, is that we kind of create. See, the problem, it's not so much perception being the reality. Now, I don't have a problem with that. My problem is when black people try to create a reality. You understand what I'm saying? Where they create this false reality based on their perception. You know what I'm saying?
But again, I do. But again, I have to say, don't we all? We all creating our reality. Right now, we're creating this reality. So, like, I guess I'm trying to see how do you take something that's so subjective and make it objective? You know what I mean? And if it's like, okay, so if we're trying to shift paradigms and ideologies and realities, then they have to be switched to something. But what is the something? And that's why I said everybody got to clean out their house first. We're putting the cart before the horse. We don't even have a solid built something for them to switch to. We don't even agree as a black folks on the basics. You know what I'm saying? Some people still arguing over whether there was even a such thing as middle passage. You know, did they even come on the boat? You know, people still saying that shit. So if we're not even on the same page, the people who call themselves conscious and woke and all those other words, then isn't this just an exercise in nothing?
Yeah, that's true.
Because we're going to all continue to create our reality.
And I think that's where a cultural code needs to come in. Like for example, we talked about, I just mentioned a kid who's 10 years old, but he acts like he's 5. Now, if we have a group of us, a group of parents, and we all have 10-year-olds, and we say, well, by the time this kid is 10, he should be doing this, and this, right? So if he's 10 years old and he's not doing that, we have to investigate. We have to assess, because we know we've already established a code that if by the time you 10, you need to be doing this, doing that, doing this, doing that. But you're not. You're doing the this and that of a 5-year-old. So guess what? We need to interrogate. We need to investigate. And once we assess it, we need to fix it. And I think oftentimes that's what goes on within us as a black society. We, like you ladies said, we don't have that code of conduct where we can say, well, they should be doing this, this, and this, but they're not. So we need to assess it and deal with it. Because oftentimes, like in other cultures, and people don't like you to say this either, other cultures have a bit of, they know how to be monolithic about particular things, you know, about how they do business, about how they do their families, about how they grow their families, about how they have their communities. They're kind of monolithic about that. Black people, we ain't monolithic about shit. And that's what I think needs to happen. We need to get monolithic about some things. We need to have some collective, monolithic, critical thought and structure about some things. Maybe not everything, but some things. Some things we have to be monolithic about.
You know, Dr. Umar tried to do that. That's what kicked off his argument with Sarah Sutanseti. He put out that he wanted all the old heads to get together and try to create essentially what you're talking about. And Sarah was like, you know, who the fuck are you to call us all together? That's how that shit kicked off. So I guess to your point, it's necessary, but how do you get everybody convened together? People still arguing about bullshit. You understand what I'm saying? Like, let's just look at this Ray and Pookie and this classic man and educated lame debate. Instead of realizing that there's room for everybody, people are sitting up there making it us versus them when it doesn't have to be.
Well, that's where I disagree, Lady Ming, because that's the problem with us. We think there's room for everybody. There's room for people who want to be involved.
Oh, absolutely. That goes without saying. But my point is that those who want to be involved don't have to feel like they have to be this, that, and the third to be involved. There's enough room for everybody. There really is, but it's not enough room for bullshit. No. But everybody has a special skill set and a unique perspective that they could bring to the cause to help elevate it. But we can't even get there because we're stuck in the bullshit.
It's true. Well,
now who and then when you have somebody like, say, a Umar Johnson, people they told us to just fight about the fact that he shouldn't be doing it, not paying attention to what he was actually trying to do, which probably could have done some real great things in the community. Because the truth of the matter is, we can't affect the community just sitting here on the internet talking about it. We have to actually get out there and each one teach one, person to person. That's why when you ask the question, would you or do you think we should be checking each other? For me, it's a no-brainer because I check people now. It's not, and it's not about black or white. It's just, for me, it's about human decency to a certain level. To give you an example of what I've done, out with a girlfriend and her guy at her guy's party, they get into it and they arguing and shit, and I'm embarrassed because we like at a rooftop, some classy shit. So they got into it so bad that he bought shots for some people that he used to work with. She came and knocked all that motherfucking shit down on the bar. Okay. And you know what I did? And I drove. I told them I'm not down with this. I had already gave them a warning, and I left. I left their asses right where they stood in my car. They had to find their own way home. And I did it, and I went radio silent, and then I got a phone call with an apology, and we discussed it about how we, those types of things. I'm not going to get into the intimate details, but my point is that I didn't just stand by and let it happen. I couldn't stop. I mean, I can't get in the middle of a domestic issue, whatever the fuck y'all arguing about, but I chose to remove myself and then remove myself from her so that we could have a for real conversation and talk about the stipulations of friendship and what it looks like. I'm the person who stopped a girl in the club because she missed the bell hoop. The old girl was fine too. She looked good as hell. I tapped on the shoulder and said, "Excuse me, I don't mean no harm, but you missed the belt loop." That's me.
Well,
but everybody is not doing that. And I'm not great. I still got so much to learn. You know what I'm saying? I'm still learning, hence the reason why I frequent the channels that I do. But that's what it looks like. I mean, like, you actually got to get out there and start to create your reality. And create the reality around you and require those that want to be a part of your reality to fall in line. And if they don't, you have to let them go.
Exactly. Well,
but then when you're out there, you have to touch and teach people. You got to say something.
Well, let me ask you ladies this, because upon the inception of this Unicorn 4 team, I thought that it would be a good thing, because often it's not the message, it's the messenger. Sometimes, no matter how concrete the message is, it will be taken a certain way depending on who the messenger is, who's delivering it. And when I got together and collaborated with you ladies, the reason why is because I knew that you ladies saying the things that you say and you delivering it would probably have more impact as if me as a man was saying it. So let me ask the Unicorn for this. Do you believe, ladies of thought, do you believe that women like yourselves should be calling more women to the carpet? And do you believe that men like me and others like myself, who have somewhat of a reach and a platform, should we be calling more guys to the carpet?
What's the end game? Calling them to the carpet to do what?
To do whatever. Or let me rephrase it. Because I believe things start from the nucleus, right? And what is our nucleus as a Black society? The people we are around. It's easier for me to affect the people that live in this house with me than it is for me to affect someone in South Carolina, right? Because I see them every day. I talk to them every day. They know me. I know them. They know my habits. I know their habits. So should we be getting on our family members? Forget people outside of our family. Let's start with the people that we have the most contact with. Should we be calling out our old brothers who don't want to get a job?
Yeah.
Should we be calling out our old crack smoking sister? Should we be calling them out?
Yeah, 110%. 110. I can call my brother on three-way now, and he'll tell you how I had his ass in the chair. And I did, and I was straight up about it, and it was just kind of like, this is where you are, this is where you should be, this is what consumes you, and it adds no value to you. I did. I went through it, and he know I love him though, but everybody knows that about me. I'm the person they're gonna come to and ask, should I do this? How should I do that? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? Because I know you'll tell me the truth. My mother included. Yes, 110%. I just had a conversation with a good friend of mine and some things she's going through personally and some choices she was choosing to make to rectify it. And I told her I didn't think it was a good idea. I just didn't. And I went into it with her. I mean, I try to do to others what I want done to me. I believe that iron sharpens iron and steel sharpens steel. Period, point blank. That's it. And I'm receptive to critique and criticisms as well.
Your own sphere of influence is where everybody should start. Starting outside of that is asinine and is asking for trouble. So your own sphere of influence, your children, your spouse or partner, your family members, your friend, these are the people that you should be talking to and getting on one page with on certain things and pulling people's coattail. Because being my friend and being my family isn't just about us kicking it and smacking a five. If you love me, you'll help correct me.
Mm-hmm.
And see, as Black people, we have a skewed view of just about everything. And
Mm-hmm.
love is one of those things. The function of family is also one of those things. We think that people who love us are supposed to enable us in our BS. And that is not so. People who love you, who are looking out for your welfare and who are caring about your well-being, if they see you going down a destructive path, it is their duty to stop you if they can, at least talk to you, at least educate you, at least, you know what I'm saying, make an effort. No, you can't control what people do. You can't make decisions for people, but you certainly can make the effort to help them make the correct decisions or make the decisions that are best for them. And if you aren't doing that for your family or your friends or the people that you say you love, and they are all on a destructive path and you call yourself walking above it all, you're just as guilty, if not
Mm-hmm.
more, enabler, and you a piece of shit is what you are, because you don't actually love people if you don't try to assist them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I totally agree. Before we move on, I just want to add this too. You may hear a little passion in my voice around this topic of the each one teach one and reaching out, because I was brought up that way. I'll be almost 20 years in my sorority. And I went through it the old school way. And the way it's ingrained in me that sometimes you have to break people down to build them up. Now, where we get careless is that we disseminate all of our opinions and all this information and what people should do, but we're not there to catch them or guide them through the process. We just unload on them and then expect them to just fly. Just go, little bird, go fly and do what you will with the information I gave you. And we don't walk them through the process. I think that's a big part of the problem. That you have to be there. If I'm going to tell you everything that you're doing wrong, I'm going to then tell you how we can do it right. And I always use we, because we're in this together. How are we going to get this together? What's your plan? You need help with this? Well, let me help you with that, because my strong suit is strategy. That's just, I have a discernment that's God given. So let me go ahead and help you with this. So that's the component I think is missing in this. A lot of what I see on YouTube is everybody spouting off their big ass mouth, but nobody has a solution after they've told you what the problem is. And they damn for sure don't have an action plan.
Well,
You know?
Lady Ming, your passion has free reign on the old T.P.O.T. YouTube page. It's okay.
Yeah.
Let it
Mentoring is just in my background. That's just what we do, being a sorority sisters. How many lines I done crossed and barred through? And you have to help these young ladies. You got to teach them things. You teach them things even like deference, because that's just about respect. How many people out here don't even understand what deference even means? It's lost, which is important as a sidebar. It's just a sidebar, but I'm just saying, it's one of the things that's kind of lost, which is why we see so much goddamn disrespect.
Well, what I found is this, at least in my experience, is that from women, especially who don't have fathers and male role models, the last thing they're trying to hear are other women speaking to them. And the reason why I think ultimately is because, again, they didn't have that balance in their homes growing up. They whether the mother really tried her best or not, or was terrible or domineering or whatever the case is, ultimately what they kind of had was a dictatorship inside their home of a woman telling them what to do. And so, they rebelled against that for so long through their teenage years and whatever, that by the time they've gotten to their adulthood is all about being able to step out of that house and, that woman, a woman, cannot come to her and tell her what to do anymore. So when you try to give them, what could be seen as maybe motherly advice or guidance, they're not trying to check for it. And what I think, at least when it comes down to a lot of people you see that are going about life the wrong way and are lost, is that they are actually interacting with a lot of people, men and women. And what's happening is, they're getting with men who are sleeping with them, dating with them, maybe even living with them, who are seeing the behavior in all the wrong ways. And what's happening is it's kind of, the excuses are being accepted for why you're seeing this fucked up behavior. The platitudes are made, patronization begins. And ultimately what ends up happening is the negative behaviors are reinforced because ultimately no one's calling them out and they're still getting what it is that they want. So I do think that, yeah, it's important that we continue to try. I think it's important for us to continue to really actually make that effort. Although I do think when it comes to women, we need to be starting to try to make these bonds and form these guidances with young girls, young teens, people we see. It doesn't matter if they fall off the tracks yet, just start making those bonds and those connections from as early as possible. So that way, when they have an option to fall off the tracks and they don't want to talk to their mom or whatever, or mom's not around, well, hey, they can have that connection with you and you can start the guidance. I do think that, it's important though, for us, whether it's men or women, like I'll step in, whoever it is, and I'll tell you what I really think. And a lot of times, kind of like the things I have to say are listened to. And the reason why is because I'm very open and honest about myself and about my own failures and successes. I'm not trying to be someone else, and I'm not trying to play like I'm perfect. I won't even sit there and try to play like I'm doing everything that I'm trying to tell you to do. And so I'll sit there and I'll tell you how I failed and how I went down that path and exactly, what happened to me. And I think that, if you're going to be reaching out to try to give guidance and to try to give feedback and to try to check someone, at the end of the day, again, you need to be able to be open and honest with checking yourself from the jump. Because that's what people, when you try to put them, especially women, you try to put them on the spot, that's what they're going to do. Because they've recognized and they've noticed and they've kept a tally of every failure you've ever had in your life. And they're just waiting for that moment. So that way, when you call them out on something, they're going to try to derail that conversation by calling you out on 10 different things. If you're not hiding and you are entirely open and upfront about your life, well, then it's really easy for you to derail that derailment. Let's bring it back to the point. Because if I can sit there and I can talk about me and how I failed, and I can admit my failures, and I can admit where I need improvement, can you? This is not a matter of I'm better than you. This is not a matter of I'm telling you be like me. This is a matter of, listen, if you want to come and check me because you see that I'm going off the rails, I want you to do that if you love me, and I'm going to do that for you, vice versa. But, a lot of times what I find, at least, is my advice and those types of things are more easily and readily accepted by men, especially men. What I find, a lot of men who don't have or had terrible relationships with their mothers, whether they were single mothers or not. And that's what they're looking for from life. They figured out kind of how to be hardened men, and they need a female perspective. And I found that, there are a lot of women, including myself, what I needed when I was younger and I was lost, what I needed was a male voice. And I needed a male perspective, and I needed basically there's something that men, the way that men and women approach things are different. And I do think that while when I was ready to change, when I was ready to grow, I needed women. But before I was ready to get through, my thick skull, what I needed were men. So I guess I'm kind of saying that, we should be calling people out as we see it from our perspective. I'm not going to sit there and try to address men from a male perspective. I'm going to address men from the female perspective, and how I see it and how it impacts me. For example, as it impacts, the female perspective. And I'm going to call out women in the same way, right? And so it's just a matter of reaching certain people at certain times in their lives where they're ready to hear the message that you have. And so just continue trying, whether it's male or female. I think we should be calling each other out more in general, and we should be calling ourselves out more as well.
Yeah, we should be calling other white folks out too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Don't let that shit get by either.
Yeah, that needs to be done. Yeah, that needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
But damn, did Lady Cats, did you go? Lady Cats, answer.
Hello?
Yes.
Can y'all hear me? Okay.
Hello.
So I agree a lot with what Ruby is saying about the younger girls, because like a lot of them grow up without their fathers. It's almost like they don't receive what other women say very well. So unless it's like something where the women basically celebrate what they do, then they receive that 100 times over. But if it's like a criticism, I almost feel like, yeah, the women can bring it to the girl if she's acting inappropriately, but I also think that a man should be there to kind of further solidify that, because I think that's what she probably wants to hear more, just a male voice. So if I almost feel like if she gets a criticism from a man, then yeah, she'd receive it better.
Well, this is what I think. Well, first, I think this. I need to see some damn likes down in this here section down here somewhere. See right there, right underneath the unicorns photos. See that? We do this every week, so I guess I gotta do it again. I want you to take that hand, guide it slowly over. Come on, we do this every week. Glide it slowly over that button. Get that mouse right there and click, and you're done. And also, I need to get some damn coins in this here bucket. I know the Streamlabs wasn't working. They gave me a new Streamlabs, y'all, and I didn't, my stupid ass, I didn't go ahead and fix it so y'all can donate. So now you can, because Brother BJ said that it wasn't working, because that's my bad. I didn't activate shit, too lazy. But look over here in this section here, about right there. That's the new Streamlabs link. So go ahead and hit that right there if you're feeling generous. It's greatly appreciated. But I need those likes getting up. I need that happening. This is what I think, and I've often talked about this before. I believe that a lot of us as adults, a lot of us are too far gone. I mean, a lot of us are just too far gone. I mean, that's just a fact. But we have many, many millions of children who can be taught, trained, schooled, counseled, instructed. And I believe that a lot of these young people can be saved. I believe most of them can be saved. Now, I don't believe most of these lost adults can be slaves, especially if they're in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. And they're still doing ignorant shit, and they're 45 and they act like they're 25. Those people are going to be hard to save. Okay. But I do believe that most of the children can be saved. I believe that we should be doing more teaching of our children. And I don't mean building some elaborate school for them to go to. I believe that teaching them at home. I've often talked about, and I talked about this many, many years ago. You go into the old files of the TPOT, you'll see it. I talked about how we need to start teaching our own children. We need to start teaching our own people. We need to find these retired school teachers and these retired Black professors, and we need to get together as a collective and have somebody teach all these kids in the neighborhood. And I don't mean just teach them STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. We need people teaching them culture. We need people teaching them life. We need people teaching them responsibility with how they act. We need people teaching them respect. We need people teaching them responsibility with their freaking genital organs. All of that stuff. All of that needs to be part of it. Okay? Because see, if we were to do that, right? Say on this block that I live on right now, right? And all the black people on this block, let's say 20, 30 families, and every family on this block has 2 children. So you talking what? 40, 60 children, right? You take those 40 to 60 children, and you take those children and you let those children be taught by these retired school teachers, or better yet, present school teachers. You know, have them taught, like I said, STEM. Let them be taught health. Let them be taught sexual health. Let them be taught finance. Let them be taught, all these things. And now you're doing something, okay? Now something's happening. When you got this kind of stuff going on, something's happening. Because if we aren't at least capable of getting our children ready for the world, and all we're guilty of is letting them inherit a world that we have fucked up, what are we doing? So if we can't fix the world that they're going to inherit, at the very least, we should be preparing them to circumnavigate their way through it. I think a lot of times we rely too much on the educational system. I think we rely on that way too much. I believe that we have a tendency to think that the only place a child can learn is in some damn schoolhouse. I think that a lot of us don't know ourselves because we fell victim to the same shit that our children are falling victim to now. Our parents relied on the public school system to teach us everything, which is impossible. They didn't watch the signs. We grew up and goddamn it, we were 17 and couldn't read, write, or count. And our damn parents ignored it when we were 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They ignored it. And I believe that we have a tendency to pass that down. We pass that ability to kind of fantasize. We fantasize and disregard certain things that don't fit our "we all right" narrative. Because sometimes us as black people, we ain't all right. Okay, we ain't all right. God damn it. So anything that counters that we ain't all right narrative, we have a problem with. We spoke about this last week when we talked, and we talked about feeling the pain and getting past it, as opposed to dancing around it and avoiding it. And I think a lot of times we as black people, we have to come to grips with who we are. We have to come to grips with who we are so we can understand ourselves better. I mean, it's hard to have an effect on people when you don't know who the hell you are. Even your children.
Yeah, that's my point.
Yeah, even your children. I mean, you're going to have a hard time having an effect on your own children if you don't truly know who you are. You don't understand your own limits. You don't understand your own abilities. You don't understand your own vulnerabilities, your fallibilities. You don't understand none of that shit. So there it is again. Everything's all right. We all right narrative. And really it's not. So you're taking those false pretenses and you're You're going about things under those false pretenses. So whatever you're showing other people, whatever you're showing your children, it's all based on false pretenses. So there's no way it's going to be solid. There's no way it's going to be structured or good because it's based on bullshit. It's based on bullshit because you don't even know who the hell you are. So let me put this to you ladies. Do you believe that because we talk about the children, and I read a lot of studies on children. I'm really into seeing what children are doing, and I've read some studies for Black children where only about 17% of our children in the 4th and 5th grade are reading at a grade level, which means 83% are not. Only about somewhere 19-20% are proficient in math, which means 80% are not. And it goes on and on with science and social studies and everything else. So that being said, do you ladies believe that many of us as parents have failed these children because you, goddamn it, you're with your parents for 4-5 years before you even enter a goddamn schoolhouse? So if a child is not being taught per se how to learn, quote unquote, how to learn, can we blame it all on the public school system because this child isn't learning? Do we have to take some culpability and responsibility for that as well?
I think parents can put more of an effort into, I guess, making sure that their children are just more well-read and, know their numbers and stuff. Because, like, the thing about the public school system is that it's really, really shitty. I mean, I went to public school, right? And when I was in the 9th grade, we had our civics and economics class being taught by the dance teacher.
Oh my gosh.
So, she's a really good dancer, but it's like, what is she doing teaching civics and economics? But yeah, so a lot of the stuff, like, it's a good thing, like, my mom was kind of like in the military and stuff, so a lot of the stuff that she could teach me about the government, a lot of the stuff I could learn about the government, I learned from my mom. So yeah, I do think that some parents do need to do better, not only like in terms of reading and writing, but also just teaching your children social skills when they go to school. Because I mean, I remember one time I was at work and somebody kept calling one of the supervisors because her son was misbehaving. He was like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. Da, da, da. And we asked her if she wanted somebody to, fill in while she got her son together or whatever. And she said, no, they're supposed to teach him how to act. No, they're not. He's supposed to know how to act before he gets to the school. He can't be going to school trying to fight the other students and all that. You're supposed to teach him how to behave himself so that he doesn't distract the other students. And then when he gets home, you're not supposed to like plop him in front of the TV and just let him watch any old thing. I mean, you can at least let him study, go over his homework with him and make sure he can read and all that. Cause that's another thing about like this whole reading level and stuff. I remember when I was in the 8th grade, my English teacher said that they actually write the newspaper to where you could read it at a 6th grade level because most people can't read past the 6th grade level. And I was like, wow. So like that to me isn't even surprising when you talk about 4th graders not being able to read at a 4th grade level, because I'm sure most adults can't read past a couple of words nowadays, since we have like Twitter and all that now. So yeah, we just need to get it together all the way around.
Yeah. The like Kat said, the onus falls squarely on the parent's shoulders. There's no way around it. There's no way to switch it. There's no way to look at it to say anything other than that. Now, granted, the kids do spend a lot of time in school. For instance, like my son starts at 8:25. He doesn't get out until 2:30. They go to karate and all this other stuff. So all these other people who are in their lives as a support system, if I were to actually look at the hours, spend more time with my kids than I do when we factor in sleep and all those types of things and the amount of hours per day. Some people take that literally, meaning that the school got them. The school got them for 8, 9 hours. They're supposed to teach them everything they know. No, they're not. And then on top of that, that's how we end up with miseducated Negroes, because you're allowing a white school system to tell you about being black. You understand what I'm saying? Like my son, I'm sorry. He knows Martin Luther King and all that. Yeah, they talked about that at school, Black History Month, but that's not it. So what we've done as an example, we have some really good friends who created these cards called Black History flashcards. It's 52 in each one. And I should put the link in there because they're awesome. And they talk about all the Black folks that go unmentioned that we know nothing about. To read a snippet, it gives a strong foundation to the many untold stories, achievements, and unknown women. This is the women one that have given shape, color, and definition to the worlds of academia, science, civil rights, business, the arts, and more. So we go above and beyond what they're saying. My son has speech issues and didn't talk. I didn't just let the speech therapist, the occupational therapist do everything. He's talking now because of the work we did at home. You know what I mean? It's not the time they spent there. It was us. Everything they do is a direct representation of us. So I don't know how any parent, male or female, can squirm out of being responsible for their child's in school and their education and who they shape up to be and who they shape up to believe they are and how they relate to this world. That is your responsibility, and it's also your failure.
And that's where the problem lies. Well, Lady Ming, you got kids, right? And you do what you just said. You have the flashcards about history and stuff like that. Now, imagine if just 30 more percent of Black people did that. Just 30 more percent. Doesn't even have to be 100%, or say 10, 15 more percent of Black parents did what you did. Imagine that. And that's where the problem lies. I think a lot of times when you talk about the intelligence of Black society, I believe that less is focused on the intelligence of Black society and more is focused on the perception of Black society. That's where I think we go wrong. But I didn't mean to.
Absolutely. It's a perception thing because I'm out here in the suburbs of Chicago and I'm in a diverse school district. And it's not just Black folks who don't teach their goddamn kids. First of all, these teachers I'm talking to are all Caucasian. Well, not all, but primarily. And they've said to me, thank you for what you and your husband do at home because people don't do this. And it shocked me because I feel like we don't do enough. I mean, we have friends of people who created these flashcards that I'm gonna put in the chat room. Their son was able to play chess at 3. He was. You see what I'm saying? So to me, I felt like we slacking and comparing up, not down. But then I get into the school system. My son is in the higher reading, the higher math, and all those other things. But to me, it goes without saying. Like, it shocked me that she was saying that, and she says it all the time. So it's not just Black folks. Everybody around this motherfucker ignorant.
Well, definitely put that in the chat, Lady Ming. And when I do the mix down on the video, I'll put it in the description box too. So, just in case you want to, if you have children, you probably should be doing shit like this. Yeah, you really.
Oh my God, yes. My sons right now at 5 could tell you the whole solar system and everything in it, even the small moons, the degrees, they could tell you all that shit. The country, I asked him the other day because their vice principal is Egyptian. And I asked my son, you know where that is? He like, yeah, Africa. He's 4.
Mm.
But that's because we spent time and that's all we watch and do. When we get in the car, I'm not putting on, the music I listen to. We listening to jazz
Mm-hmm.
because we play instruments. My husband plays trumpet and my son is starting to play trumpet and all those things. So those are the type of things we're trying to cultivate. And Nika Love asked a question, and I hope I didn't chop up your name. She said, what if the parent isn't educated enough? Like, could they still educate their children? And I say, yes, you educate them as far as you could take them, and then you hand them off to somebody else that could take the ball further. For instance, I got something in his book bag about tutoring services. If I had no idea on how to teach my children, I'll be signing this ass up for tutoring.
Yeah, you got to start where
You
you
understand
are.
what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It don't have to be YouTube, because to be quite honest, at a certain age as a parent, you start to become ineffective. Because they always listen to you. They already know your rules, blah, 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 blah. So then you have to kind of hand them off to the next level, be it teachers, their coaches, their relatives, so on and so forth, to carry the ball even further. It's just natural. This is what happens. At some point you go from being cool to uncool.
Yep.
So that's when your village and your community comes in.
Have to do this stuff.
What was the
I'm
question?
sorry, y'all. I'm doing all the talking.
Sorry, honey. I don't remember what the question is now.
Uh,
So caught up in the end of what Ming was saying, and I'm like, I want to respond to her, but I'm like, wait, that wasn't the question.
well, go ahead. Go ahead. If that's what you want to do, go ahead.
Well, no, but what was the question? I guess I'll do it all at the same time.
Well, the question was,
Mhm.
should there be more accountability and culpability and responsibility on the parents as far as the educating of the children? Should it be all left to the schools? Do the parents have some accountability in that, being that they with their parents like 4 or 5 years before they even enter a schoolhouse?
Okay. Okay, so it kind of all ties in together. Then great. So the thing is, right? Well, at least I'm coming from the psychology background perspective. So from a psychology background, then your children, in those first 4 to 5 years, that's when they learn certain things. So, for example, they learn empathy and sympathy. They learn morals. So children, you notice at a certain age, they all kind of go through the same stages. So that's not the rules. You have to follow the rules. They learn and establish rules. And where do they learn those from? They learn them from their parents. What's right and wrong isn't something that's morally ingrained in them. It's something that is taught to them. And so that's being taught by their parents. Habits, as far as what you do you clean up after you're done cleaning or playing, or can you just leave stuff there and walk away from it and move on to something else and who cares? Are you held accountable to the food that's put on your plate as far as having to eat it or not? People don't think about, first of all, they start these habits late, but they don't think that these habits translate over into things like school. But the thing is, they do. If you're not investing the time and the energy into teaching your kids the basic skills of life, as far as what they would just need to do to be able to sit at a desk for 5, 6, 7 hours a day and learn something, as far as applying themselves, as far as doing things sometimes they're not really in the mood to do today, as far as being able to vocalize thoughts and feelings instead of acting out rashly because they have no self-control. Then when they get to school, they're going to have a really difficult time. That's just off the bat. On top of that, you haven't established the fact that you are a touch point. You haven't established the fact in your own life as a parent that you actually owe your kids time. You owe them your time. So you owe them the time of making sure they sit down at that kitchen table with no noise so they can do their homework, and you owe them the time of reviewing their homework with them. You owe them the time of going in for parent-teacher conferences, or if you see a couple bad grades coming in with your kids, you owe them the time of contacting the school to say, listen, we got to figure out what's up with you and what's going on with that. And as Ming said, you owe them the attention to say, if I can't do this, I'm going to get you a tutor who will. So, I mean, my parents had it really easy with me because I could learn everything by myself. I mean, they don't know a word of French, and they put me in French immersion and I soared, and that was fine. My baby sister, who's born 10 years later, um, she was not flying in French. It was not language wasn't easy for her, either English or French. And you know what happened between me tutoring her, plus she had the school tutor, plus she had all this extra help everywhere she was in the learning center and this and that, whatever she needed to be, she was funneled in there because you know what? Ultimately, she wasn't having an easy time of things. You can't just ignore your children and expect that, hey, well, the system will somehow figure it out for them because that's not the way it works. And that's in, like as Ming said, like I was born and raised in the white suburbs. So was my sister. At the end of the day, this is not just a black issue or a black school issue. This is an overall, these people are there to teach your kids whatever the curriculum is that year. That's it. Often these teachers are going and, you know, the week before they're brushing up on these things that they don't remember anymore, and then teaching them to your kids. And you know what? They've got 30 kids in every class that they're teaching every single day. Your kid could easily fall through the cracks, first of all. Your kid, at the end of the day, they may have some type of implicit bias against your kid. And this is something that people don't understand. The teacher may not even overtly realize that they're biased against your kid for some reason. And your kid might be sitting there and living down to this teacher's expectations, and you're not there intervening because you haven't applied yourself from early on that you have to be involved in your kid's life. And once they start school, yeah, socially, you kind of reared them as far as rules and stuff like that. But socially, really, children are from about middle childhood on, they are literally bred to start ignoring you and start paying attention to their peers. Because the place that they're going to be competing and the place that they need to be successful is amongst their peers, not amongst their elders. So they're actually literally biologically made to switch focuses, which means those first 8 years or so of their lives are really, really pivotal. And that's the time that you can make the most difference in their lives. Trying to make a difference once your kid hits high school and now you realize they're failing out of every grade because, oh my God, they missed all the basics. It's a little late now. You need to apply yourself from the second that they come out of you. But certainly when they go into school, they are more your responsibility than ever because you know what? They're gone out of your view for 8 hours, 10 hours a day sometimes if you're working, which means it's even more important that the few hours that you have at home with them every day and the weekends that you have with them, that you're investing that time and energy to make sure you are staying connected during those pivotal times in their lives. So that way, if anything is going wrong, you are on top of it before it becomes an issue that honestly, by the time you get to high school, you're just waiting until the year that you can drop out without the truancy called on you. You need to catch your kids before that.
Yeah. Wait until you're 16. Yep.
I agree. I totally agree. Next, the Lady Kendra answer already.
Yeah, I'm here. So it's not too much for me to add. Plus, I'm sleepy.
We got you up
But
late, huh?
yeah, I'm gonna have to go to bed soon because I gotta wake up in the morning.
Aww.
But the ladies, I mean, of course, you have a responsibility as a parent to teach your children. Your children's education in all aspects of life is your responsibility until they can take over responsibility for themselves. And if you are ill equipped to teach them past a certain point, it is your responsibility to ensure that they are placed somewhere where they can learn whatever it is that you can't teach them. Now, some parents can homeschool, others can't, or what have you. But whatever the situation may be, you still have that responsibility. Because when I was raising my little brother and sister, I didn't wait for them to go to school so they could learn how to read and they can learn how to, do whatever they had to do. I sat and taught them. I taught them reading and their letters. Hold on for a second.
But Kendra is right. Can y'all hear me or did I mute myself?
Mm.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
but she
back.
right though. Okay, go ahead.
It's responsibility to make sure I made sure that my little brother and sister could read before they get into kindergarten, before they get into first grade. There's no reason why they should be, I didn't see a reason why they should be 4 and couldn't sound out cat and read a simple children's book. That was unacceptable to me. How do you not pay attention to that? And it's like, my little brother and sister not going to be stupid. They're not going to just pass through school because the teacher's tired of it and they just give them a passing grade. No. I knew how lame the school was and what they weren't going to learn. So I decided that going to they're going to learn the things that they probably aren't going to learn in school, or they're going to be too distracted to learn. So I sat them down at 4 or whatever, and we're going to read this children's book. And I think a lot of people underestimate the intelligence of children. Children are not stupid, they're sponges. So if you teach them anything, they'll learn it. Their brains are ripe for absorbing information. So all you have to
Mm-hmm.
do is make sure that you are inputting the correct information
Yep.
into their brains
Mm-hmm.
so that they then
Mm-hmm.
internalize those things. That's why it's better if they're going to learn a different language, do it when they're young. If you're
Do it
going to
now.
teach
You're
them math,
absolutely right.
when, if you're going to teach them, whatever, do it when they're young. They'll
Yep.
pick it up like nobody's business. Some stuff will
Mm-hmm.
come easier than other stuff because, people
Mm-hmm.
are different. But it's the same thing. By the time they got to school, they were ahead of the curve.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wait. The teacher doesn't have time to teach your kids how to read. They don't. That's your job. When they're little, before they get into preschool or kindergarten and all of that, your child should be counting. They should know their colors. They should know how to read. They should know how to speak clearly and properly. You got children running around here that cannot speak clearly, and they're 4 and 5. And it's because no one talks to them, no one communicates with them. They can't tell you what's wrong with them, but they can cuss you out like a grown person. That's a problem because this is what they're hearing, that's what they're around. So they mimic, and they don't know any better. They're babies. So they're supposed to mimic what's going on around you. So it's your job to make sure that you're setting up the proper example, that when they mimic you, it's something good, what I'm saying, and not something that embarrass you in front of somebody else. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't homeschool my little brother and sister through grammar school, but my little sister, she didn't really like school and didn't really want to go after 8th grade. She definitely didn't want to go to high school because of the social aspect. I homeschooled her for all 4 years of basically of her high school. So
Mm-hmm.
that was within my capacity to do. I could take her through the whole curriculum from freshman to senior because, all you got to do is brush up yourself so you can teach it to her. You know what I'm saying? And then, but by that senior year, I put her in like an accredited distance school so she could actually get, an accreditation for completing high school. But I mean, that was my sacrifice. I wasn't working. What else are you doing?
Good for you.
What, just shove her into a social situation that she isn't gonna prosper in? High
Mm-hmm.
school is the way that it's set up isn't for everybody. One
Mm-hmm.
size does not fit all, and it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't gonna fit her. You know what I'm saying? It's not like she's some kind of social misfit. It just, I know how high school is. I know how my little sister is. That
Mm-hmm.
wasn't gonna be a learning experience for her. That was gonna be gladiator school because she was gonna mollywop some of them girls.
Let me find out.
Because my little sister, Capricorn, you know how they can be. So she got a mean streak a mile wide. She's so sweet underneath that she would kill me. She'll hear me say, she said it right here, hear me say it. She a sweet little puffball underneath, but she got a super hard exterior. So other people it wasn't gonna be a good mix. So I just
Mm-hmm.
homeschooled her. But if I could not have homeschooled her, it would have been my responsibility to find a better fit for her,
Mm-hmm.
whether that was
Mm-hmm.
tutoring or finding an alternative type of school, you know what I'm saying, or what have you. Uh, you know, and that's all I gotta say about it.
And I'm gonna say this: Soul Shader just said it. Fuck the public school system. They ain't teaching these kids shit. My kids in the public school, these schools have like a 99% graduation rate and stuff like that. When you get to the high schools, kindergarten, they already learn addition and subtraction. He already can tell time on a regular non-digital clock. Like they're really moving these kids along pretty fast. You almost have to come into kindergarten already having the basics down pat. They ain't spending a lot of time on that 1, 2, 3 ABC shit. They moving on. Like literally, he just took a map testing and looking at the stuff. He's already doing addition and subtraction. He's already looking at geometry. They already, not just these are shapes. They're already fitting them into the schematic of math and how they're used. He's already writing sentences and stuff like that. This is not the same kindergarten. So I would have to slightly disagree about the public school system in totality, and I know there are exceptions. Probably in totality, it is horrible. I mean, I'm coming from Chicago. You already know CPS is garbage. I'm still in Cook County, but it's not Chicago Public Schools. Totally different school district. But yeah, they legit. I wouldn't spend money where I live. I wouldn't spend money on another school. It'd be a waste of money because they're actually doing what they're supposed to do.
Well, let's talk about what you ladies just spoke of. Now, Kendra said something that's often a problem because me, I've always said, I mean, I haven't said it lately, but I've said it over a course of years. If you find a dumbass kid, if you follow him home, it's probably a dumbass parent behind that damn door. I've often said that. But when you have children, because don't get me wrong, I believe that a lot of us do teach our children. We do teach our folks. It's just that we teach our folks the wrong shit. Yeah, we teach them, but we teach them the wrong shit. Just like Lady Kendra said, you got this little kid. He's freaking 5 years old. He don't know his colors. He can't count. He can't write his name, but he know how to say bitch, ass, shit, fuck. He know how to say all of that, but the little motherfucker don't know his colors. He don't know how to write his name. He can't count. Whose fault is that? It's not his. That's not his fault that he can say bitch, ass, shit, fuck. He can say all of that clearly. But goddamn it, he can barely string a sentence together. That's not his fault. That's his parents' fault. That's not the public school's fault. That's his parents' fault. Okay? So when you have these type of situations where kids are being taught, they're just being taught BS. They're being taught nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
Not, and like you said your sons, I mean, in kindergarten, they're not even doing 1, 2, 3 ABC, right?
No, not that was like the first week or two of school. You better already come in there knowing how to count well past 20.
Yes. So nowadays, kids are expected to know more when they come into kindergarten. So
20, the school is about to end, and they're actually holding a brunch or a snack thing where the parents can come and sit on the lawn with their child while their child reads them a book.
yes.
This is 5-year-olds.
See what I'm talking? You see, there it is. There
We're
it
doing
is.
that May 25th.
There it is.
These are 5-year-olds.
Whatever.
Yeah.
5-year-olds are already expected to know how to read and count and all that kind of stuff. So if you a bullshit ass parent and you ain't teaching your kids shit, you send your kid right in there and they right in there behind. They right at a disadvantage right off the rip. If you ain't teaching them how to write, you ain't teaching them how to count, you ain't teaching them their colors, you ain't teaching them, basic reading level stuff, basic math. If you haven't taught them that, You bringing your kid right in there, but behind the 8 ball at a disadvantage and probably primed up to be shipped off to damn special ed. Okay, prop set up because he come in there and he's not doing what other kids are doing. They automatically gonna think he's stupid right off the rip. Yeah, they're gonna think he's stupid because
label him.
Yeah, because all the other kids are 5 and 6 years old and they're reading, they're writing, they're counting, they know their colors. You send your damn kid in there, he can barely talk, he can barely read, he can barely write, don't know his colors. They're gonna say this dude is stupid. We need to put him in a special class. So
give him an IEP.
Yeah. So now you're sending your kids to school, man, and they're at a disadvantage. They're at a disadvantage because your ass ain't took the time to make sure your kid can say other words besides shit and ass. All right? You haven't taken the time to do that. So my focus goes back on the parents. You know, my focus got to go back on the parents because they're responsible for them damn kids up until the time they go to kindergarten. And what you're saying, Lady Ming, they need to be focusing on those kids hardcore now because more is expected of the children.
Absolutely. And let me tell you what this looks like in practice, because some people may say, I don't have time for that. I work all day. How am I supposed to be expected to do X, Y, and Z? I started things like we would count everything when they were like 1 and 2. You know, walking up and down the stairs, counting the steps as we walk down, count how many red cars we see. I implemented education into everything that came out of my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't, and that's probably why I feel like I don't do enough, because I didn't make it so damn cerebral. I just sat down and decided that I'm going to implement education, and that's it. And when we're watching TV, we're going to watch YouTube and watch the solar system, the body parts. We're going to watch the songs that teach them all the phonics of the letters, not just the letters, because reading is phonics.
Mm-hmm.
That's why my son can read, because we sat down and he learned phonics before he walked into kindergarten. So now they can sit down and sound out a word. You know what I'm saying? Sound it out to read it. That's what we're over here doing. And it's not hard. It was no skin off my back. It wasn't no extra work. It was just attention to detail. And structure. Structure is the key. No kid is going to learn anything without a proper night's sleep.
Exactly.
I don't give a shit how smart he is and what you want to teach him. But if you letting your 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 8-year-old go to bed 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, got to be up at 6, 7 in the morning, you are already sitting them out there crippled.
And you're a bullshit parent. And you're a bullshit parent. That's what it is.
So often though. I'm like, do you know that amongst our social group, my husband and I social group, you know, the married couples, they call it the Ming. What do they call it? We're gonna do the Ming, because I did the whole method with having my boys cried out to sleep and all that. So they go to bed every night at 7:30, and they've been doing that since they were 1 bedtime. Okay, and people think it's a joke. People don't want to do it. It'll never work. Oh, the shit works. Oh, trust and believe me, it works.
I noticed that about you from the very beginning. Every time we do a show at 9:30, I don't hear any kids in the background. I don't hear anything. I said she must make her kids go to bed really early. It must
7:30. Well, you know, because for you it'd be 8:30 because you're And
I know that your kids are little. I know they little tykes.
4 and 5.
Yeah, they're little tykes.
They do, and they're ready for that. And that structure makes them feel, it opens them up to be able to learn. Because if a kid got to worry about what he gonna eat, where he gonna sleep, are they arguing when I get in the house, what time I'm going to bed, is my clothes clean? They don't have time to then work on what they really need to be learning. You understand what I'm saying? It makes them feel safe and secure, even if they're trying to talk you out of it. Trust and believe they want it.
Mm-hmm. All that shit plays a part in it, man. All of that shit, man. I mean, you know, a lot of times in Black society, the reason why our kids are stupid is because we're stupid. We do stupid shit. We don't have no structure. We don't have no code of conduct in our own damn house, let alone code of conduct of how we deal with other people. Our damn house, there's no code in there. It's everything goes. The kids go to bed whenever the fuck they want. You give them dinner with different times every night, and it's just crazy shit. There's no steps. There's no routine. There's no protocol in the household. Therefore, you got kids going. You got them going out and going to school with these minds that don't have no sense of protocol. So when you send them to school, because school is about protocol. There's protocol in school. And you got your little kids running around your damn house with no kind of protocol. You know why? Because your black ass don't have no protocol.
If I can interject,
Go
I
ahead.
probably could have done more academically if I didn't have to worry about the arguments. I woke up hungry. Couldn't go to bed till 2 o'clock and had to wake up at 5:30 to get to school and try to concentrate, try to do what I could because I was never unintelligent. School
I
was one of those
I
things that sort
think
of came
we
easy to
all
me.
have surmised that, lady. Yeah, we all know that. God damn it. Go ahead.
School was one of those things that sort of came easy to me, a little effort here, a little effort there, and I could pick it up. But I didn't end up the salutatorian or the valedictorian, mainly because my home life sucked so bad until, when you come to school with your belly bone touching your back, you can't really think about trigonometry that morning.
Yeah, it's hard to
You know
talk
what I'm saying?
Exactly.
when you got
Hard to think
got the old
about
grizzly
that.
bear in the gut.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's like,
he rumbling around, and then you gotta wait until
mm-hmm,
um lunch, and that lunch
mm-hmm,
was nearly inedible. I would
mm-hmm,
always throw it up. It was I don't know what they was doing to that so-called food. It was horrible. But I had to try to choke it down to some degree because you're not gonna eat anything when you get to the house. That's the only meal you're probably going to have. So when we have these horrible living conditions, it makes it quite difficult for a child to concentrate on school when they must concentrate upon survival. And I think
mm-hmm,
that one of the things when other Black people who made it out look back and wag their fingers at the children who grew up who didn't, quote unquote, make the most of their education or this and that, at what point does the child growing up in those situations get the blame for not being able to take up on that? At what point does the blame switch? Because how are they to shape their own reality as a child? It's given to them. And it takes a certain type of, and everybody's not going to have the intestinal fortitude to overcome all obstacles. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's not that strong minded. Everybody's not that driven. Um, and to be honest, quite honest with you, the circumstances that we live under are created to break you so that you cannot move forward positively. So when you're worried about something to eat, geometry takes a back seat for you because I got to hustle or I got to do something else because my needs as a human supersedes my need to get this education for something in the future. I'm hungry today or I'm homeless today because I knew kids who were homeless, study trying to come to school, and eventually they couldn't. It wasn't their fault. They're 12, 13, they can't come because they don't have anywhere to stay. And so when they become fodder for the prison industrial complex, is it really their fault? Yeah, okay, you can say, well, when they get grown, they have choices they can make, but that's a muddy situation because not everyone is choosing just, to be this lazy piece of crap. You know, I hate to have veered off into that, but to me, those things are intertwined.
You know what? And I agree with you, Kendra. And I think that was basically exactly where I was going to go.
Mm-hmm.
We have to realize, and it's difficult to do, especially with, okay, so we have this problem where the majority of households are all single mothers. Okay, and we know that a lot of these single mothers are clearly making massive mistakes with their kids. We know there are a lot of fathers. A lot of those mothers are on some fuck shit, not letting their fathers be there and whatever. But you know what? There's some fathers who just aren't being there because you know what? They didn't want to grow up either. Their way of not growing up is fuck it up, washing my hands of this shit. So you and your kid have fun with that. I tried for 6 months. I'm tired of it now. You know what? One way or the other, what we got to remember is that the adults, because we have to look at them like adults when they have kids, those adults were probably raised in the same conditions that we're now looking at these children and being like, what the fuck, man? You can't keep treating these kids like this. They need more than this. And it's a cycle of this. So you know what? The eight shit parents of today were the kids of eight shit parents of yesterday, who were the kids of eight shit parents of the day before. And this is where the problem is that there is this never ending cycle of a bunch of people who don't know shit about shit, who are now parents and are now responsible for some children growing up and having something and knowing something and being about something. And at the end of the day, when you look at it, how can those parents teach these kids about anything at all when no one taught them shit? And there's no services being offered or presented actively and openly to them. If there are, it's being presented in such a way that they don't understand that it's actually a good thing. You're not calling their kids stupid or retarded or some other type of insult. It's not some type of thing to brainwash your kid. It's not some type of thing, another thing to attack the Black community. Because this is part of the problem too, is that a lot of help that is offered, the way that it is viewed, it's viewed with suspicion and derision. So you know what? They're not going anywhere near it because, and I'm talking about the good parents, obviously, but they're not going anywhere near it because you know what? They have rightfully so learned not to trust the system and to think that everything that the system is offering is ultimately to try to pipe your kid out of school and into prison. To pipe your kid into failure land somewhere. And this is part of the problem. And this is where I said, if there isn't a change in the collective as far as what the collective knows and understands and deems as valuable and good, there isn't going to be a collective change overall, because part of the problem is that even with the good parents, the ones who actually give a shit about their kids, a lot of them don't know enough to know what is good or bad. A lot of them are so defensive because they're used to being defensive, because their whole lives they had to fight against the you're stupid, you're retarded, you're whatever narrative, because their parents didn't give them a leg up or any type of knowledge either. They had to fight their way through nothingness to try to survive. So they're so defensive. They'll be defensive for their kids. They're going to walk away from good things. They're not going to know that, hey, there's help out there to help you do better, and that if someone offers you the help, it's not because they're insulting you and your kid. And with that being said, a lot of them, then you have on the complete other side, the ones who are so scared of fucking their kids up that when their kids are given some stupid diagnosis of ADHD and ADD and whatever autism, mildly or whatever, they just accept that without questions and without qualms because they honestly think that they're too stupid to look it up themselves and understand it themselves because, oh, well, the educators, they wouldn't lie to me. They're so smart. They know everything. And this is where it's coming down to. It's like there are these polar opposites of ignorance that are pervasive in our community. And ultimately, that's what's breeding this generation of kids who are going to grow up in the same levels of ignorance and then breed a new generation of kids. And again, the only way I can see that stopping is if it comes from our idols, from the people who, 20 million of us, 50 million of us, 100 million of us watch. And who are those people? Beyonce, Jay-Z, whatever the hell sports star is big now. Y'all know I'm not good at pop culture, but you know what I mean? That's where it needs to come from, because if it's not going to start coming from there and have that trickle down effect, if those people aren't going to be tweeting this shit out and saying this stuff in interviews and whatever, then the rest of our community, except for the small minority, are not getting the message, and they're not going to trust it when they get it.
Well, but what does that say, Lady Classic? What does that say about us if the only way we can receive a positive, constructive, productive message if it's coming from Jay-Z or Beyonce or Lil Wayne. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Is that oftentimes in Black society, and I mean not everybody, but a lot of times in Black society, it's never really about the message. It's about the messenger, like I spoke of earlier. It's about the messenger. And if Beyonce says it, it's gospel. Even if it's some bullshit, Beyonce can get on TV and say some bullshit and people will think it's gospel. But if you get somebody, for instance, like Brother Cerulean, who's in the chat room right now, very intellectual, smart brother. If he was to get on YouTube right now and you know the type of shit Brother Cerulean talks about, you think half of these damn Negroes would listen? And
no, they don't listen now.
He could say the exact same thing that freaking Beyonce says, all right? And no one would pay him any mind. But if she says it, it's the gospel, even if it's some old whacked out bullshit that doesn't make any damn sense. And that's
ridiculous.
Is the problem.
Well, you know what Cerulean has to do, right?
What? Start being on television?
Yeah, he has to write a really catchy mumble rap song and put it to a trap beat.
Oh yeah,
that'd be dope.
They'll listen to him then. Yeah, they'll listen to the
a conscious mumble rap song. Dropping some knowledge. They don't even know they learning.
They'll listen.
Mumble rap.
Yeah, they can get it through the subconscious.
But you know what?
Exactly.
Black people as a people have always looked to the unconventional among us for our message. Back to slavery. How did we know where the Underground Railroad was? We had to sing it.
Mm-hmm.
The singers were the messengers. The artists were the messengers because we always had to find an unconventional way to deliver important messages.
Mm-hmm.
And so we learned that about each other from there. When hip hop first started, it was the conscious among us who were delivering these messages through music. Because they didn't have the platform to be pushed in front of millions of people if they weren't doing some type of artistry or something like that. Even before hip hop, our music had messages. The Marvin Gayes, we listened to those things because those were our ministers, those were our speakers. Those were the people who understood what was happening and used their talent to disseminate information to us. So subconsciously, we still do that. Our messengers are still the people who entertain us. The only difference now is that they don't have a worthy message anymore.
Right.
And so we are still doing what we have learned to do, only it doesn't benefit us anymore. It's a detriment now. Like when you have Kanye West tell you that slavery was a choice, and then you have so many people, oh, yeah, I think it was a choice. And it's like my hope for humanity, my hope for the Black community dies once again because we can't even agree that our ancestors were forced into servitude and being pressed on.
Absolutely. And just to add to that, the other thing is ultimately because like I agree 100%, and it's just the fact that when you are a minority in a land that benefits from keeping you oppressed and keeping you dumb and keeping you from ever rising above, then what happens is they're not going to allow your true leaders to actually get to the place where they would be in a respected role that should be respected, like say something political office. And look what happens to our leaders. They all mysteriously die long before their time. I mean, our true voices, they all mysteriously die before their time. So what ends up happening? And it's, it is exactly like back in slavery times where, it's a bunch of coded messages and something that they can't figure out. And it's something that's why to them our music is so threatening, because they know there's an underlying sense of a message they don't understand that is being transmitted. And that's why they want to control the narrative of our hip hop music, of our music in general, but definitely of our hip hop music, because they know that a message is being delivered through that we are understanding inherently that they can't actually comprehend at all. And so I think that on one side, it's like, what does it say about us? Well, it says that, as is usual, the only way that we are allowed to transmit messages across the mass populace without being shut down, without being killed, without being silenced in some way or another, is to go through these things that they see as frivolous and stupid. Music, actors, actresses, sports stars, etc. And that's where I say that, because we either overtly or covertly, we actually process those messages. It's time for those who are up there, who can reach 100 million people, who can, like this, reach 100 million people tomorrow. It's time for them to start doing their part and start disseminating messages and images and thoughts that tell that younger generation that what is cool, just in the same way that the music was able to tell everybody that what is cool is being a thought. What is cool is, having a bunch of thoughts around you and being irresponsible. And as long as you got a grill, you're all good, and whatever all this bullshit that got disseminated through the music. So if it can literally change our culture to think that way and be that way, then you know what? It's entirely possible for us to change the culture once again through our music and through our musicians and our other big stars, our big famous people. But it's just a matter of, first of all, kind of as a collective, figuring out and determining what that message needs to be, and then it actually being disseminated because these stars actually give us it.
Well, I think one of the biggest problems in Black society is that I often spoke about us not being monolithic on anything. I also believe that a lot of us, we need to change our minds, and start by opening them. A lot of us need to change our thinking, which obviously isn't an easy task. That's quite the hill to hop, to change Black folks' mode of thinking. Because the way we think, everything starts from the mind. So, I mean, the way we think about things usually dictate, how we interact, how we deal with shit, how we raise our kids, all that stuff, like we talked about earlier. I was talking about it with Lady Ming earlier. Perception is our reality. So I think a lot of times we may have to work on our perception. We have to work on our perception of things, which starts with our thinking. I mean, we have to work on that. We can't think that everything is all right when our kid is 10 years old and his Black ass can't read. We can't think that that's all right. We can't think that it's all right when our asses is 35 and can't read. We have to stop thinking that way, man. We have to stop thinking that it's all right shit when it's not. I think that is what is hurting us. And it's not so much as schooling, it's about educating our people. And I'll say what my definition of education is again. When you go from unaware to aware of your own damn ignorance about people, places, things, life, and your own self, now you're educated. So we have to start educating our people, and it has to start with the children. I mean, it's not going to make much sense to educate somebody who 45 and done fucked their life up. I mean, we're not going to get much out of that person, because more than likely they got more years freaking behind them than they got in front of them. But children, I mean, we have to focus on children because we don't know what kind of world they're going to inherit, like I said earlier. So we have to prepare them for whatever it is. We have to prepare them for whatever it is. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is if our black ass have some knowledge of what preparing them looks like. So that's where the problem is. I think that a lot of us need to work on our thinking. We need to work on our perception of things. Now, I don't mean to get up here and tell people how to think, but I will get up here and tell you black asses to think, period. Because see, that's what TPOT is about. It's not about you thinking like me or thinking like the team here that you see on the panel. No, but I am going to tell you to think. That's kind of mandatory. Yeah, that's mandatory. Not thinking like me or thinking like T.L.O.T. That's not mandatory. But thinking, period, is. Yeah, that's mandatory. I'm sorry. That is a prerequisite of being black. You must think. God damn it. You must think. Okay? You have to think. And because, see, if you have a limited amount of thought, that means you're going to have a limited amount of behavior, which means your options are going to be limited. Okay? If your thinking is limited, you automatically limit your options. That's just a fact.
And your outcomes.
Yes. And what usually happens is with our limited thinking and our limited options, we pass that shit down to the kids. All right. And now they've got limited options. We don't taught them to have a limited scope of thinking. So they grow up and turn right into us.
And that's their reality.
Yeah, that's their reality. And I hear people often say, and I say this a lot, and I know it pisses people off. People say, oh man, what's wrong with these kids? And you know what I say? What's wrong with these kids is us.
Exactly. And that's how we penetrate their reality, is through their children.
Yes.
That's how we change their reality.
Yep.
We change the future. We start because if you get to their children, the children and start shaping their reality, thus changing the reality they were born into.
Exactly.
It's not always a pleasant experience when you're evolving and changing, but it's a necessary evil. So that's the solution, the children, which we've been, talking about every damn day.
I mean, what does Frederick Douglass says? He says it's easier to raise strong children than it is to repair broken men. And we need to pick up that mantra. Quit worrying about the broken ass people who 40 and 45. It's hard to repair them. But we can bring forth children that are prepared. So they're not the broken men and women that are 45 years old, 40 years from now, 30 years from now. And I think we need to kind of focus on that. But it's only going to be a select few, because this is said a lot. This is said a lot. There's a lot of people on media, like me, like you ladies, like the master teacher, like Brother Valdez and others, Kevin Samuels, people like that. Unfortunately, folks, a lot of us, we are outliers. Unfortunately, it's not like I know there's not a 5 million X's out in the world. Just not. There's not 5 and 10 million Professor Cerulean Grays out in the world. There's not 5, 10 million master teacher BGSs in the world. There's just not. That's the reality of it. It's not. So what has to happen is those people who are the quote unquote outliers, they are going to be the ones to set the tone for the others. Now, I have to say this. A lot of the others don't like to listen to the shit that we say. They don't want to listen to a Cerulean. They don't want to listen to a Brother Valdez. They don't want to listen to a Kevin Samuels or a master teacher. They don't want to listen They don't. I look at a person like the master teacher, and I watch his stream, and he may have a couple hundred people watching. There should be 20,000 motherfuckers watching live. You understand? 30,000 motherfuckers live. Kevin Samuels, the shit he talks about, he should have more than a couple hundred people watching. There should be at least 20,000 sitting there paying attention. But no. But if you look at a damn video on YouTube of a bunch of people shaking their ass and acting like jackasses, 2 million views, 5 million views, 10 million views. And like Brother Cerulean says, a lot of our people, man, think it's still damn party time. It's party time. They want to be entertained. They don't want to be enlightened. They want to be.
It's open season on niggas right now.
I mean, and we at the bottom with that shit. That's gonna keep us at the bottom. If all we looking for is to be goddamn entertained, there need to be more of us wanting to be enlightened as opposed to us wanting to be entertained all the goddamn time. I mean, we have to get out of this party time shit that Brother Cerulean talks about. We have to get out of it. Life ain't a damn party 24 hours a day, man. Sometimes you need to have your black ass somewhere trying to learn something. I mean, come on. Let me tell you something. Y'all know, right? I have a power mechanic shop, right? And I've been doing mechanics probably for the better part of 30 years. I would probably be what you would be considered a master power mechanic. You know, not to toot my own tie, but that's the truth of it. So I would be considered a master mechanic. Do you know that I still read books about mechanical application? And I'm a master mechanic. I'm not just somebody with a pair of vice grips in the backyard working on your shit. All right. I used to teach it in a school. I taught it before I started doing it. So I'm considered a master mechanic, and I still read books about mechanical engineering. I still read books about mechanical application. I still read articles online about it. You know why? Because I'm never to the point where I think I know enough. I'm never going to get there. I'm never going to get to the point where I can say, you know what? I know enough now. I don't need to learn anymore. And I think a lot of our people are like that. They think that they don't need to learn any more shit. They think they've reached the precipice. You know, they're at the top of the mountain already. They're right up here. I don't need to learn anymore. I'm smart enough. I know enough. And anybody that says that is a fucking idiot. Okay?
They're a fool.
Yes.
They're a fool. But there's also a category of people who know that they'll never reach the precipice, no matter where it is, and they're comfortable with that. We're living in a society that says it's okay to be nothing.
Yep.
It's okay. So they're not even striving. They're not even trying to be at the top. The top is overrated.
It's okay to be mediocre.
Exactly. It's like, I don't have to do that.
Yeah, mediocrity is fine. I just need enough to get by and shit. I don't even need
It's like when I was in college, you had the people that would say C's get degrees.
Yeah.
That thought process.
Yeah. You know, long as I, can pass the bar or whatever, I'm good.
I'm good.
Yeah.
So that we live in an I'm good society. They ain't even trying to reach that damn far.
Nope.
They think we fools.
Yeah. Yeah. Oftentimes, and I've ran into this, as growing up as a young man, not to toot my own tie, but when I was coming up, when I was coming up in high school, I took a lot of Regents classes, okay, and I graduated earlier than most of my friends, not that I was necessarily smarter than them, but I did shit to get myself out of school before they got out of school. I graduated when I was 17. Most of my people that I knew, when I graduated school, they still had another year of school left. So people often shun you, like Lady Classic spoke of earlier. She talked about how Black people seem to think that, having command of the English language is white folk stuff. Being able to speak properly is white folk stuff. Having an education is white folk stuff. Being smart, white folk stuff. So, you know, yeah, we have this bullshit about us where, you know, if you know a little something, you're trying to be white, as if intelligence is based on color, or you know, if you black, you supposed to be mediocre. You supposed to be dumb, stupid, not knowing
You're
anything.
supposed to just only know how to do sports. That's what you're supposed to do. That's the acceptable thing.
Yeah, if you black, you just need to know how to throw a football, hit a baseball, bounce a basketball, rap, sing, or be a comedian. Anything outside of that is white folks. If it's outside of that, it's white folks stuff. And we got to get past that shit. I mean, it's just the stupidest freaking way of thinking, man. That, God damn it, anything that's gonna get you further along in life is white folk stuff. And it's like people wear this ignorance and bullshit as a badge of honor. Then we turn around and pass that same ignorant bullshit down to our kids, and they grow up and pass it to theirs. So you got a generation of people who don't give a shit about education. They don't give a shit about moving forward. They don't give a shit about evolving in their lives. They get to the bottom and they just comfortable there. All right. They're just comfortable at the bottom. I often talk about, how you go into a lot of people's houses and you see 60-inch TVs and Xbox and PlayStation, Jordans, all this kind of bullshit. But what don't you see in there? Books. What you don't see in there is study materials for them damn kids. And it's like, come on. That doesn't make any sense. You got all this money to buy all this bullshit, and you don't buy, there's no encyclopedias here. There's not a dictionary here.
A thesaurus ain't laying around this motherfucker.
There's no thesaurus in the house. There's no children books for the kids.
No green eggs and ham. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Stupid. When I was growing up, there was always a fucking volume of encyclopedias in our house and a dictionary.
Yes.
Every house we ever lived in with my parents, there was a volume of fucking Encyclopedia Britannica, the whole volume, and a big ass fucking dictionary and a world fucking glossary.
A quick funny story. I was looking in the encyclopedia one day. I just, you know how you go down the rabbit hole, you read one thing, it leads you to another. So I'm researching all type of STDs and venereal diseases and shit. I'm sitting at the kitchen table doing it, and I fell asleep and had the book still open on it. My mama coming to me in the morning like, is there something you need to tell me? Because I left the encyclopedia open on one of the STDs because I was just learning. I was just reading.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
That's what I said earlier. I don't understand. I just don't understand it. It's something to when cracking open a book and the smell of the pages and the world it takes you to. You know, I find a lot of people who've been through a lot of things are readers.
Yep.
They're readers.
Yep.
And writers, because it's an escape. I was able to leave where I was and go somewhere else for a while. Reading saved my life.
Plus, reading has an effect on how your brain operates, man. That shit is like jumping jacks for the brain. I mean, and like I said earlier, only about 17% of black children are reading at grade level by the time they're in the 4th grade. That's a low ass number, because that's 8 out of 10 of them. They asses can't read. So you know what that means? They're going to have problems comprehending. They're going to have problems learning. They're going to have problems understanding, because see, they can't read. So the fact that they can't read, their brains aren't going to evolve and operate like that other 17% that can. You know what I'm saying? They're at a disadvantage right off the rip because they can't read. So that 83% that can't read like that other 17%, that other 17% is going to excel faster. Why? Because their brain has a different level of comprehension. Their brain can understand more, and they can read. So they have the ability to take in information. They can take in information greater because, see, they have the ability to read. And see, that's where That's where I go back to their old parents. God damn it. Because how the hell don't you know that your kid cannot read? How do you
Because they can't
know
read.
that? Yep, there you
You'd
go.
be surprised how many people are out here lying and acting like they can read and they cannot. It is literacy or illiteracy is a huge problem. People are out here faking the funk, and you would be surprised how many people you personally know that cannot read.
Yeah, I know.
They can't read.
I knew quite a few brothers, man. Many years ago, man. I mean, these brothers, literally could not read, and they were my age. They were in their 30s, and they could not read. I don't mean had trouble reading. I'm talking about just zero reading. Like,
yes.
Couldn't read a sentence, because what does that do? When you can't read, what does that do for you? That automatically limits your options, because number one, your black ass can't fill out a job application. Okay, that's out of it. Okay,
they found sneaky ways to get other people to do it for them.
Yes.
I read this book about it, and this guy, he got through life. He was even a professor and could not read. And the tricks of the trade that they use to get by, I'm telling you, you'd be surprised. Everybody listening in this chat room, how many people you probably know right now that cannot read. And you won't even realize it because they are so slick with it. They learn how to get by.
They do a lot of memory shit,
A lot of memory shit.
Yeah,
a lot of shit where you find yourself like, damn. Like, for instance, I realized that somebody I know couldn't read. One time we were sitting there, somebody we both know, grew up with, that was in jail, wrote a letter home. And they got the letter. And we sitting there at the table and they going to say, go ahead and read the letter. Read it out loud. I said, he can't read. Because he did it slick, though. But because I'm aware and I pay attention to the signs, I'm like, he can't read. He didn't just say go, he did it real slick to get me to read the letter out loud.
Well, let me ask you ladies this, because we coming to the end here. Let me ask y'all this final question. Do you believe that black people, are we stupider, dumber, more ignorant than other people? That's a good question, ain't it?
You ladies go ahead. I feel like I've been doing all the talking. I've been running my mouth.
Well, in my opinion, there's certainly a difference. Ignorance is literally lacking knowledge. It has nothing to do with your intelligence level. Has nothing to do with whether or not you are dumb or smart. It just has to do with ignorance. Now, do I think in the Western world we are the most ignorant? Probably yes. And that has to do with so many different factors. What it comes down to is there's so many factors keeping us in our own ignorance, in our lack of knowledge, and our lack of understanding, and in a lack of understanding how important it is that we catch up, that deficit of knowledge isn't acceptable. So I would certainly think that we are the most ignorant. Now, intelligence in and of itself, like if they were to do an IQ test, sure, some of that, half of that is how much information you just literally know and can regurgitate. But the other part of intelligence, which is the most important part, has to do with your ability to take in new information and work with it, assimilate it with old information, solve complex problems with it, et cetera, et cetera. Now, based on all of that, I would actually say that we rank towards the top as far as intelligence goes. The problem is that, again, we are so mired in our own ignorance that there isn't really a way of us to actually display that. And I think that the powers that be want it that way, because if we were actually aware of not only how intelligent we are as a populace, but we were also putting that intelligence to use, we could take over. And they wouldn't want that to happen. So they want us to keep thinking that our lack of knowledge is equivalent to being stupid, and that, basically, I think it was Ming who said earlier, like, what's the point? Like, who cares then? You're not going, why, that's for other people. Intelligence is for other people. School's for other people. College is for other people. Doing well is for other people. You're not other. Come sit here and be mired in the muck with the rest of us because you ain't shit like the rest of us. To have a good life is for other people. And, you know, to read books, what the hell you think you're going to be one day? And the thing is, we literally are mired in that ignorance because of the fear of our intelligence. So I actually think that we rank toward the highest as far as intelligence goes. And unfortunately, we rank as high as possible as far as ignorance goes.
So was the question, are Black people more ignorant than other groups? I just got back.
Yep. Are we more ignorant or stupid or dumber than other people?
Well, I would say we're more ignorant. I wouldn't say we're stupid or dumber. The thing about like a lot of Black people, I've noticed like in my age group, we just don't want to learn our history. We just don't want any sense of self. We think that cuddling up to other groups of people is going to save us, and not having any knowledge of self is supposedly gonna, I guess, help us somehow. It's just, I don't know. It's like with millennials, because I'm thinking about like the past couple of hangouts, people have been talking about millennials, like this issue with millennials keeps coming up, and I have to agree, unfortunately, like a lot of them like to blame older generations, but then at the same time, it's like when they try to teach you something, you don't want to listen to shit they have to say. But then at the same time, you want to be like, oh, but you didn't do anything for me. But they're trying to teach you something now, and you're like, well, fuck you, old man. So, yes, I think that's very ignorant. And I think that's what's going to end up hurting us in the long run, because we don't want to learn our history. We don't want to learn who we are as a people. We'd rather just, you know, kiss white people's asses, for lack of a better term, instead of learning our own stuff. And then, you know, again, I think Classic Ruby brought this up. It was either her or Ming, where basically we're looking to celebrities as our quote unquote leadership. Every other group of people has business people and politicians as their leadership, and we have rappers and actors and sports stars, which is bullshit.
We are simply ignorant. We're not unintelligent. Most of us are not unintelligent at all. We're actually quite intelligent, because education and intelligence are two different things. Whether or not you are educated formally has no bearing on how intelligent you are, because I've known the stupidest book smart people. And we're ignorant because for the most part, we have to keep our heads down and survive. And when you're in survival mode more often than you're not, it's difficult to take certain risks or chances, things that would possibly open the doors of opportunity in other places. Because a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. I'm afraid to take risks A, B, and C, because if I lose what I already have, I'll really be up shit's creek, especially if A, B, and C doesn't work. So many of us are in that kind of position mentally. We look at television and you look at, what other people are doing, and they just seem like they can just pick up and go and do some shit. And you think to yourself, why I can't do that? What the hell is going on with them and me They don't have bills, or they don't have rent, or they don't have shit to do? Well, yeah, they do. It's just that they have a surplus that you don't have. And they may have a safety net that you do not have. And so for this is how we remain in a state of ignorance a lot of times. We would like to do certain things. We would like to learn certain things. I'm sure many of us in the hood would like to go abroad, or learn something else, or see something else, open our minds to other things. I'm sure we did. I was, when I was young, and I was in the midst of the hood. I wasn't nothing but in the hood. And I, wanted to do other things. I knew that there was a larger world out there, more than what I saw, more than what I was experiencing. Other people had to have been experiencing something different. But I was also in a constant state of surviving. So I couldn't see myself doing something other than the surviving that I was doing. And I think that's many of us would love to do something, have the mental capacity to do it, but we don't understand how we can get out of the rat race, how we can get off the hamster wheel, so we can do something else, and know something else, and be something else. I think that we just don't know a lot of stuff. And that's what ignorance is. Ignorance is the absence of knowledge about a thing.
Agreed.
I'm sorry, I got sidetracked with the black male talking about we over here bashing.
Yeah,
Kind of threw me off a little bit with that one.
I don't know what the hell they're talking about, because that's not what goes down.
That's not, yeah. And then he talking about he came to support. So that kind of threw me off a little bit about the whole bashing. See, this is what I'm talking about. People derailing the build.
Mm-hmm. That's just what happened. We don't do that here, brother. You're in the wrong spot if you think it's that kind of spot, man. You're on the wrong channel, brother. Trust me. I suggest you go.
I need to rewatch. You think?
Yeah, I suggest you go through the archives of the T.L.O.T Unicorn 4 broadcast, so you can get more context of what we do here on Thursday nights, my friend.
But you know what? This is a perfect segue into what I wanted to say as it pertains to the Black community. I don't think we're unintelligent. I don't think that we're stupid. I don't think that we can't learn, but I do think we're ignorant, as in we don't know the literal definition of the word, which he just proved by coming into this chat room ill-equipped with information and talking out of turn.
Well, he's been shown the door, so there you have it.
But that's my point. We are ignorant. We don't know. And we try to move like we do know, instead of taking the time to understand and fully know. Cerulean said something in the chat room before I got thrown off that I thought was really good. We've been operating from a position of survival for so long and so many generations that we don't know anything about survival. We've never learned how to thrive. And when we did, we were pushed. And it's like, yeah, because when he also said Black people are not ignorant or stupid. In a nutshell, we are a group of frightened children forced to face the reality that survival alone is not enough. Therein lies where the ignorance is, because they don't understand that you're actually being backed into the corner and put in a position to act out the way that you are. And because you're not taking the time to fully understand the situation and how we got here, you are ignorant.
Exactly. It's like listening to it's like when somebody's on the telephone and you listening and you hear the one person talking and you think you know what the conversation is going on, but you're only hearing one side of the conversation. So it's hard for you to put it into context because you're listening to that one person. You don't hear, you eavesdropping while they're talking to somebody on the phone, and you jump out and be like, what are you talking about? But see, you only heard one side of the conversation. So you don't have the full context of it. And I think that's what's going on with the brother, or I guess he's a brother. I think
but it's indicative of what's going on in the Black community. It was like perfect timing.
That's true.
You just gave an illustration of exactly what we're talking about. a disruption of the build.
Yeah, you know, I think a lot of times we as black people, a lot of us just need to shut the hell up and do some listening. Okay, we need to do some listening and assess situations and get some context to certain situations, before we act on them, speak on them. We need to do that a little more. You know what I'm saying? We need to stop jumping in the pool before we put our swimming trunks on. We like jumping in the pool fully dressed. Shoes on, clothes on, jacket on.
But the operative word is we.
Yeah.
See, bashing is when you talk a lot of you and I.
Yeah.
Yep.
You doing this, you're doing that, blah, blah, blah. We're over here talking in we's. We're taking ownership right along with the community that we're sitting up here critiquing and discussing.
Right.
Because that's what we do here. That's what we do here. And anyone who follows this broadcast and any other part of TPOT media knows that that's what we do here. That's what we do here. We don't say those people, you, them. We say we, us.
And brother, if you listening, I invite you back to build on another day.
Yeah, come on back, man. I'll leave it.
Not today, though.
I'll break down. Oh, yeah, you're done off for the day. You done messed yourself up. But come on back Wednesday. You can shoot me an email and I'll give you the link. And you could be my guest on Wednesday because TPOT is on a couple of nights. Okay, this isn't a flash in the pan dynamic here. It actually goes every week. So you could come on next week. You can be my guest. You can do all that, brother. Hit me up. So you done messed yourself up now because, see, I don't rein in my moderators. So if they feel fit to throw your ass out, time you out, I don't have any control of that. They get to do whatever they want. So there you have it. I want to say this before we cut out of here. Unicorn 4. I agree. I agree that we as black people are very intelligent. I think we are some of the most intelligent beings on this planet. But I also believe that we are some of the most ignorant people on this planet. And it may not be necessarily just our fault. I think we have been conditioned to be ignorant a lot because we have been conditioned to think a certain way. We've been conditioned to not have intellectual curiosity. We've been conditioned to, as you ladies spoke of, always thinking of survival, how to survive, as opposed to how to thrive, because a lot of times those things can't be interconnected. It's hard to think about thriving when you're focused on surviving. I also think that many times we as black people, I think that we fear knowledge. We fear knowledge because knowledge usually what? Entails newer things, learning newer things, thinking differently, as we spoke of a little while ago, changing your perception. And I think that we have been conditioned to kind of go along with a particular status quo based on how we were raised, how we lived, the people that are within our circle of influence and our environment. So I think that that sort of handicaps us to a degree. But what I say to that is this: if we as a black society continue to be this way, things are not only going to remain the same for many, many generations to come, they're actually going to get worse. And I tell you why. Because the conditioning and the programming that we are often imprisoned by, it's not like it's going to stop. It's not like we're going to wake up one day and it's all going to be gone. No, because if anything, that's going to continue. That's going to get worse. So we have to find a way to circumnavigate around these things. And I always I go back to talking about the young children again. We have to start there. That's where it lies. That is the reality. and reality will heal Black folks. That is the reality. The reality is that we have to start with our young and include our old if they want to be included. If they don't want to be included, we must let them go. Okay? When the ship pulls out of the dock, the older people who don't want to be on it, we cannot force them. We cannot force them on the ship, but we can force the young because we still have a degree of control over them. You understand? We can force them on the boat, just like your kids, Lady Ming. If Chicago was sinking right now, you could grab your kids and put them on that boat and be like, come on, we need to be saved. We're getting on this boat. But you may not be able to make the 80-year-old lady down the road get on there because she may say the hell with that. I don't want to go. I want to stay here and ride it out. You know? So we have to look at it that way. We have to work on these children, teach them, guide them, counsel them, instruct them, prepare them. And we bring along the older who want to be involved. We cannot force them. We cannot force them to get out of their ignorance. We cannot force them. But we can train our children to not have the ignorance in the first place. That's my final thought on that. But I want to thank everybody for showing up. I also what's this guy saying? Sure, if you want to have a discussion, I could set up my show to network with yours on whatever topic. What's the email? The email is prophetofthought@yahoo.com. Hit me up. That's prophetofthought, one word, @yahoo.com. Or you can hit me. Oh, thank you, WOTP. There you go. My mom just hit you up with it. There it is. I want to thank everybody for coming by tonight. Good topic, very deep, very passionate discussion. I appreciate it always. I want to thank everybody for showing up and watching, spending some time with us. I want to thank my moderators in the chat, always doing what they're supposed to do. As always, I want to thank you too, brother BMT, Black Male Talk. Hit me up, brother. We can set something up every Wednesday and Thursday night. We live 9:30 Eastern time. Also, I need y'all to go on down there to Prophet of Thought on Facebook. That's our main page. That's Prophet of Thought series on Facebook. Like I say all the time, we up to like almost 1,000 followers. I can't believe it. You know, that's like unreal to me. Yeah, get on up there, Prophet of Thought series on Facebook. That's the main page. Like, follow. There's always some good stuff up there. You see my stuff up there. You can always catch up with what's going on with me, the YouTube page, and the U4. You can always catch them, what's going on with them up there as well. Also, check out the T.P.O.T bandwagon page on Facebook. Send us a friend request. I make sure I'll click it quick, guaranteed. There's always good stuff up there too. And make sure you stop by the Prophet of Thought series fan page. Stop by the Prophet of Thought series fan page on Facebook. There's always some good stuff on there. That's almost up to 3,000 members. I can't believe that either. I can't believe, I appreciate it. I can't believe so many of y'all are actually interested in my stuff. I appreciate it. Like I said, we almost at 3,000, y'all. Let's see if we can get it to 3Gs before the end of May. Be nice. Go ahead, request to be a member. You'll get accepted quick, I promise. So go ahead and stop by and check it out. Like I said, there's always some good stuff on the old Prophet Thought series fan group page. It's not just my stuff. Other people post stuff up there too. So you ain't just got to listen to me get up there and talk shit. Other people are up there talking shit too. Also, check us out on WhatsApp and Instagram. That's Prophet Thought on Instagram. Come on, give me a follow. You follow me, I'll guarantee to follow you back when I get around to checking it. And also, go to Twitter. Go to Twitter. Check the Prophet Thought series out on Twitter. That's at TPOT Media on Twitter. That's at TPOT Media on Twitter. I tell y'all this every damn week. Follow me on Twitter, or I'm going to haunt your black ass in your sleep. And also, check us out on the website, www.don'tevenTryIt.wikifoundry.com. That's www.don'tevenTryIt.wikifoundry.com. There's a lot of good stuff up there. The Unicorn 4 is there. Of course, my black ass is there. So you go up there, you check it out. There's a bio of the Unicorn 4. And if you look up there this week, you're going to see full-length pages of the Unicorn 4, because like I tell y'all all the time, it's still under construction. They do have their pages up, but I haven't filled it in with the literature yet, but the literature is ready, so it should be up there this week. But you can catch them. They all have their own individual pages on the site, and there's also a short bio page with all of them as well. And like I said, you can catch my shit up there. X's old archives from the Nubia Hood radio days. And, there's pretty good stuff up there. Tribute to the Fallen up there. Yes. And also, I've been meaning to tell y'all that because I updated that too. There's a section on the website that I call, I've been meaning to tell y'all about this, but so much shit be going on. There's a page on the website called Tribute to the Fallen. And what Tribute to the Fallen is, many, many brothers and sisters who have been killed in the streets, whether it be by police or others, people who have lost their life in a futile, just meaningless way. If you have pictures of people, it may be someone someone you're related to. It may be someone you saw on the news or someone you saw on the internet. Send me that picture and I will put it on the site and I will add it to the Tribute to the Fallen collage. It's something really, really good. I've been doing it for a few years. So y'all need to go to the site, check it out, Tribute to the Fallen. There's lots of people up there that you probably will recognize, some you won't. If you go to the page and you feel like you want to send it through the page, my email is on the page as well. You can hit me up on the email and send me a picture and say, hey, X, I want this person to be on the site, and I'll make sure they go on to the Tribute of Fallen. So make sure you get on down there to www.don'tevenTryIt.wikifoundry.com, and I will submit that photo if you send it to me. Also, I want y'all to go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to this here channel. And if you're feeling generous, make sure you go ahead and put some coins in that there. See that little Streamlabs right there? See that right there? See it? Are you looking, people? Right there. Make sure you drop a few coins in that there bucket. All right. It would be greatly appreciated, because everything you give me, I pump it right back into the old TPOT machine. And make sure you get some damn likes down here in this damn section right here. Make sure you do that too. All right. So good show tonight, ladies. I want to thank everybody again for coming by. And I have to thank the Unicorn 4, T.L.O.T, the Ladies of Thought, putting down another good show again. Lady Cats, Lady Classic, Lady Kendra, and Lady Ming, the Unicorn 4. Make sure you have your black behinds here next week, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. You will be hearing the Unicorn 4 live and direct again with another topic. I'm thinking about next week merging Dark Exodus with the Unicorn 4 next week. So next week, boy, may be a hot one, because I may merge an old Dark Exodus topic on the Unicorn 4 next week. So be looking for that. I haven't decided yet, but like I said, the Unicorn 4 always lays down a good show. They always drop juice. So make sure you have your behind here next week, same time, same channel, right here on the old TPOT YouTube page. And with that, I will leave you with 3 words, like I always do. Open your minds. And we are out of here, y'all.
Good night, everybody. Have
Good
a
night,
good
y'all.
one.
Cheers. Mwah. Until next week.
Open your mind.
Peace, folks. Lady Kendra, Lady Cats, Lady the unicorn four.
Open your mind. Open your mind. Open your mind.
Only from T.L.O.T.